After 3 years together, he, the captain of the Special Forces, publicly broke up with me at the homecoming banquet celebrating his mission's success, all for the sake of his precious white moonlight sister. Calmly, I took off my engagement ring. Think carefully, once you walk out that door, I won't look back, he scoffed drunkenly. Without you, we'll be better off. What he didn't know was that the core code for the military's new defense system, the one that predicts ballistic trajectories and has saved his life countless times, was something I wrote through countless sleepless nights. The access permissions were set for him alone. 3 months later, his unit was trapped in a hopeless situation, with an enemy sniper's crosshairs fixed squarely on his forehead. Just as command was at a complete loss, I received a direct order from the highest-ranking officer over the encrypted channel. He heard my voice, familiar yet icy cold, target acquired, requesting authorization to assume command. In that moment, amidst the hail of gunfire, he finally understood the true meaning of regret. Note, the story is set outside of China. Chapter 1. The banquet hall was a swirl of clinking glasses, where the champagne pyramid refracted the overly bright light of the crystal chandelier, making eyes sting. I stand at the heart of the noise, yet the sounds around me feel muffled and distant, as if separated by a thick pane of glass. Pei Wuyan's arm was still draped intimately around Jiang Rongsu's slender waist. He leaned in, half his weight against her, eyes hazy with drink and tinged red at the corners. The rakish charm usually restrained by his aloof demeanor was now poured unreservedly into the woman nestled in his embrace. His crisp blade Special Forces service uniform, with its gleaming epaulets, seemed to belong to a completely different man from the clear-eyed, focused youth who had offered me his hand on the training ground 3 years ago. The raucous laughter around me, the catcalls from his teammates, Jiang Rongsu's honeyed, saccharine Wuyan Gij, each sound pierced my eardrums like a fine, sharp needle. And then, I heard his voice, thick with intoxication, cutting through the hollow revelry. Let me officially introduce her to everyone. He lifted his chin, his gaze sweeping past my face without pause, landing directly on Jiang Rongsu's flawlessly made-up face. His smile was smug and bold. Jiang Rongsu, my white moonlight, she's back today. Mission accomplished, and finally back by my side. He paused, as if finally remembering my presence, his gaze drifting over with a lazy, almost patronizing kind of pity. As for Tang Yuji, he let out a cold, mocking laugh, the sound sharp as shards of ice, piercing straight to the heart. 3 years, thanks for sticking with me. Now that Rongsu is back, we should end it here. Time seemed to freeze for a moment. I could feel the gazes from all around, shock, pity, and schadenfreude, weaving together into an invisible net. Jiang Rongsu nestled in Pei Wuyan's arms, a faint yet unmistakable smile curling at the corner of her lips, her eyes glinting with the triumphant swagger of a victor. My heart felt as if it were being squeezed by an invisible hand, a wave of suffocation washing over me. 3 years, over 1,000 days and nights, all the trust forged in battle, the life or death promises, the warmth of leaning on each other in the lab deep into the night, none of it could withstand the return of a white moonlight. My fingertips turned cold. I took a soft breath, forcing the surge of bitterness back down. Don't lose your composure, Tang Yuji, you absolutely cannot lose your composure here. I raised my hand. The movement was slow, yet remarkably steady. I gently twisted and slid off the engagement ring from my ring finger, a piece that was far from extravagant, yet bore the weight of countless promises. The cool touch of the metal left my skin, leaving behind a hollow, empty imprint. Pei Wuyan, my voice was eerily calm, without even a ripple of emotion. Think carefully, once you walk out that door. I held the ring out before him, suspended in the air between us. I won't look back. The room fell silent in an instant, every gaze fixed on that tiny ring. Pei Wuyan squinted at me with bleary, drunken eyes, as if he'd just heard the most absurd joke. He reached out, not to take the ring, but to casually bat my hand away. The push was firm, almost sending the ring flying from my grasp. Looking back, he sneered, tightening his grip on Jiang Rongsu's arm, his tone light and cruel. Tang Yuji, don't overestimate yourself. Without you, both me and Blade will be better off. He leaned in closer, the scent of alcohol mingling with his usual cold, sharp aura. His words cut like a blade. You've held this position for 3 years, long enough. Rongsu is the one who should be standing here. The last flicker of hope was utterly extinguished by his words. I looked at his handsome yet coldly indifferent face, then at Jiang Rongsu's unmistakable smugness, and suddenly found it all rather absurd. He'll probably never know that the core code of S.H.I.E.L.D., the military's prized new defense system that predicts ballistic trajectories and has saved him and his team on countless dangerous missions, was something I hammered out word by word, through countless sleepless nights, and its highest-level access has been granted exclusively to Pei Wuyan to this day. It all began when he said, "Gigi, my back, I trusted to you alone." How ironic. I said nothing more, merely withdrawing my hand and clenching the ring tightly in my palm, its hard edges digging painfully into my flesh. Then, I turned, straightened my back, and walked with measured, steady steps toward the banquet hall doors, treading over the scattered shards of light at my feet. Behind me echoed his smug laughter, Jiang Rongsu's soft, placating words, and the clamor of the crowd as they resumed their chatter in a strained attempt to paper over the awkwardness. Every step felt like walking on cracking ice. I walked out through that heavy door and did not look back, nor would I ever look back again. The ring dug into my palm, almost drawing blood, but that pain was nothing compared to the desolation in my heart. Pei Wuyan, I hope you never get the chance to regret what you've said today. Chapter 2. The elevator door slid shut, sealing off the false and clamorous world behind me. The mirror reflected my face, pale, tearless, with only a cold, lifeless stillness in my eyes. I pulled out my phone, its screen glowing faintly in the dim elevator. Without hesitation, I immediately severed all data connections to the Blade Special Operations Team's internal network. I shut down that encrypted channel, the one with the highest clearance, accessible only to Pei Wuyan, without a moment's hesitation. Just as I finished, the elevator reached the first floor, the door swung open, and the night wind rushed in, carrying a sharp, unyielding chill. Stepping out of the military guesthouse gate, a black sedan silently glided to a stop in front of me. The window rolled down, and in the driver's seat was my longtime assistant and friend, Ji Yun. She didn't ask any questions, just handed over a coat. "Put this on, it's chilly at night." I pulled open the car door and got in, pulling my coat tighter, still warm from the car's heater. The car smoothly pulled away, leaving behind that place, once filled with 3 years of laughter and tears, now reduced to bitter irony. Back to the institute, Ji Yun gazed ahead, his voice calm. I leaned back in the chair and closed my eyes. "Also, submit a report to the military district technical headquarters in my name." The content: Tang Yuji, core architect of the shield system, is requesting an indefinite suspension of technical maintenance and access support for the system due to personal reasons, effective immediately. Ji Yun's hand on the steering wheel paused for a fraction of a second. She glanced at me, a flicker of shock in her eyes that was quickly replaced by calm. Understood. She knew exactly what the shield system meant to Blade, and especially to Pei Wuyan. This was the protective talisman I had forged with my own hands. Now, I was going to take it back myself. From this moment on, whether Pei Wuyan lives or dies is none of my concern. Tang Yuji. The days that followed were unnervingly calm. I buried myself completely in the research institute, taking on several long, dormant, cutting-edge projects, filling every waking moment with a punishing workload. The lab lights often burned until dawn, with data streams and lines of code becoming the only colors in my world. The outside world was not without its ripples. The story of Pei Wuyan publicly dumping me for Jiang Rongsu at the victory banquet eventually made its way through certain circles. Whispers of various versions, mixed with curiosity about Jiang Rongsu, that unattainable crush, and either pity or mockery for me, would occasionally drift to my ears. Ji Yun would carefully filter out most of it for me, but some things always slipped through the net. For instance, Jiang Rongsu, under the pretext of being severely traumatized and in need of comfort, openly moved into Pei Wuyan's officer's apartment. For instance, Pei Wuyan leveraged his connections to secure Jiang Rongsu a position in the military district's cultural troupe, a cushy and respectable job. For example, how they appear together as a perfect couple, basking in blessings from all directions. Word has it that Jiang Rongsu even made a special trip near the research institute, claiming it was just a passing by, but her demeanor was that of a queen surveying her own domain. Ji Yun was fuming, but I couldn't even be bothered to lift an eyelid. Just a pathetic clown. My silence and concessions only seemed to embolden certain people. That afternoon, I had to temporarily leave the lab and return to the military compound's family quarters to retrieve an old document, as I needed to verify a crucial piece of data. As soon as I reached the ground floor, I spotted those two unwelcome figures. Pei Wuyan and Jiang Rongsu were standing beside my car, which hadn't been moved in ages. Jiang Rongsu was holding a small spray can, looking as if she was about to draw something on my car window, while Pei Wuyan stood behind her, a doting smile playing on his lips. Seeing me approach, Jiang Rongsu froze mid-action, then, like a startled Fawn, ducked behind Pei Wuyan and called out timidly, "Brother Wuyan." Pei Wuyan stepped forward, blocking me a few paces away, his brow slightly furrowed, his tone carrying its usual impatience. "Tang Yuji, why are you still here? We broke up, didn't we? You should know your place, move out already and make room for someone who actually needs it." Need someone. I lifted my eyes, glancing past him to land on Jiang Rongsu, who was standing behind him, secretly smirking at me with a challenge in her eyes. A flicker of warmth finally ignited in the frozen wasteland of my heart. I took a step forward, closing in on Pei Wuyan. My voice was low, but clear enough for the occasional passers-by nearby to hear. "Captain Pei, first of all, the occupancy rights to this apartment were allocated by the military district based on my technical contributions. This has no direct connection to you, or to put it another way, to any past relationship between us. Whether I move out, and when I choose to do so, is my prerogative. That's not something you need to concern yourself with." Pei Wuyan seemed taken aback by my direct rebuttal, his expression darkening. I didn't give him a chance to speak, shifting my gaze to Jiang Rongsu behind him, my tone flat and detached. "Secondly, Miss Jiang, if I recall correctly, your current posting is with the cultural troupe. This is a residential area for senior technical officers and core project personnel. Regulations stipulate that unauthorized personnel are not permitted to enter freely, and any form of graffiti activity is strictly prohibited here." My eyes swept over the small spray can she hadn't yet managed to put away. "Shall I notify the security office to come verify your credentials and intentions?" Jiang Rongsu's face turned pale in an instant, her grip on Pei Wuyan's arm tightening as tears welled up in her eyes. "Brother Wuyan, I just wanted to draw a little smiley face. I didn't mean any harm. Sister Tang, Tang Yuji." Pei Wuyan pulled Jiang Rongsu back protectively, glaring at me. "Rongsu is timid, she can't handle being startled. Why are you being so aggressive? It was just a harmless joke. Do you really need to make such a big deal out of it?" "A joke." I repeated it softly, looking into his eyes, their edge dulled by alcohol and a life of indulgence, and suddenly felt utterly exhausted and disgusted. "Pei Wuyan, take your white moonlight and stay far away from my life. This is the first and last warning." I took out my phone and directly dialed the security office. Right in front of them, I spoke clearly into the receiver. "Hello, security, this is Tang Yuji from the technical headquarters. I'm at Building 3, Zone C of the residential compound. There are 2 suspicious individuals here attempting to vandalize my vehicle. One of them appears to be an unregistered non-resident. I need you to come and handle this, please." After hanging up, I watched Pei Wuyan's face instantly turn ashen and Jiang Rongsu looked like she was about to faint. A faint smirk tugged at the corner of my mouth. "Furthermore," I said, finally looking straight at Pei Wuyan, enunciating each word with perfect clarity, "let me correct you on one point. It's not that you're leaving me, it's that I, Tang Yuji, am done with you." With that, I paid no further mind to their wonderfully varied expressions. I turned around, swiped my access card, and walked into the building entrance. Behind them came Pei Wuyan's frustrated growl and Jiang Rongsu's insincere sobs. The elevator ascended, and in the mirror, my face remained expressionless, except for the cold fire in my eyes, burning brighter than ever. "Pei Wuyan, Jiang Rongsu, the game has only just begun. You owe me, and I'll collect every last penny, with interest." Chapter 3. The security team arrived quickly. Leading them was a meticulous old squad leader who recognized both me and Pei Wuyan. The scene was rather comical for a moment. Pei Wuyan stood in his everyday uniform, the officer's insignia on his epaulets glaring under the light, yet, he was made to look somewhat disheveled by Jiang Rongsu behind him, who clung to his sleeve with tears streaming down her face like rain-soaked pear blossoms. I stood in the shadow of the apartment entrance, watching calmly. "Captain Pei." The old squad leader was clearly in a difficult spot, looking from me to Pei Wuyan. Pei Wuyan's face was ashen. He'd probably never been so humiliated in his life. He took a deep breath, trying to summon his usual air of authority. "A misunderstanding. This is Comrade Jiang Rongsu from the cultural troupe. We're just passing by. The squad leader glanced at the spray can still in Jiang Rongsu's hand, then at my car window. Though nothing had been painted on it yet, the intention was clear. His brow furrowed as he spoke in a formal tone. "Captain Pei, according to regulations, non-local personnel must be accompanied and registered by an internal staff member to enter, and this spray can." Jiang Rongsu quickly hid the spray can behind her back, her voice trembling with tears, timidly saying, "I'm sorry, class monitor, I didn't mean to, I just saw the car was covered in dust and thought I'd draw a smiley face to make it look happier." As she spoke, tears rolled down her cheeks as if she had suffered a grave injustice. I almost burst out laughing. That line of reasoning is refreshingly original. Pei Wuyan, predictably, fell for it hook, line, and sinker. He pulled her closer, his eyes blazing at me. "Tang Yuji, are you happy now? Rong-su is just naive and innocent, she didn't think it through. Did you have to make such a scene?" I ignored him and addressed Squad Leader Lee directly. "Squad Leader Lee, the situation is clear. My private property was threatened, and an unauthorized individual entered a core residential area. Handle it by the book. If you need a formal statement from me, I'm ready to cooperate." Squad Leader Lee nodded, his expression turning stern. He said to Pei Wuyan, "Captain Pei, you and Comrade Jiang here will need to come with us to file a report. Furthermore, while Comrade Zhang's actions didn't cause actual damage, her intentions were improper. She will require disciplinary counseling, and her unit will be notified." "What? Notify the unit?" Jiang Rongsu panicked, grabbing Pei Wuyan's arm. "Brother Wuyan, you can't tell the art troupe, then. How will I ever face people again?" A vein throbbed at Pei Wuyan's temple as he stared at me, his words gritted out between clenched teeth. "Tang Yuji, do you hate me so much? Is destroying her the only thing that will satisfy you?" "Hate?" I looked at him and suddenly felt a pang of pity. By this point, he still believed that everything I did was out of lingering feelings for him, or perhaps born of love turned to hatred. "Pei Wuyan," I said, my voice low yet cutting clearly through his ragged breathing. "You think too highly of yourself. I'm merely upholding the order and peace that is rightfully mine. Whether she ruins herself or not is a matter of her own actions. What does that have to do with me?" I stopped looking at his face, contorted with rage and disbelief, and gave a slight nod to Squad Leader Lee. "Thank you for your hard work." I turned, swiped my card, and entered. I shut the door, completely sealing off the chaos, the sobbing, and that gaze that felt like it was boring 2 holes into my back. The elevator ascended slowly, leaving only the sound of my own breathing in the cramped space. The palm still held the ghost of a sting from where the ring had pressed, but the desolation in my chest was slowly being filled with something cold and sharp. Returning to the quiet apartment, I didn't turn on the lights and went straight to the window. Downstairs, Pei Wuyan and Jiang Rongsu were being led by security personnel toward the administrative building. Jiang Rongsu still seemed to be sobbing quietly, while Pei Wuyan turned his head to speak to her, his posture still protective. What deep affection and sincerity! I drew the curtains and powered on the computer. The screen's cold glow illuminated my face. Pulling up the back-end logs of the shield system, it clearly showed that since I revoked their access 3 months ago, Pei Wuyan and his Blade Special Operations team had not once successfully accessed the system's core predictive module. All they have left is the most basic data query functionality. Over the past 3 months, Blade carried out 2 overseas covert operations, both of high priority. The logs are filled with a massive number of manual operation records and emergency evasion alerts. One can only imagine how difficult their journey must have been without the shield's automated predictions and decision support. Pei Wuyan, is this what you meant by "things will only be better without me"? I moved the mouse, the cursor hovering over an encrypted command input field. With a single command, I can lock the entire shield system down against Blade. I could even plant a few inconspicuous little gifts for them, something to give them a real taste of despair when the moment is right. Fingertips gently grazed the enter key, but in the end, I still looked away. It's not the right time yet. Letting him lose everything so easily would be letting him off far too lightly. I'll let him stand atop the world, let him believe he has it all under his thumb, let him and his unattainable ideal revel in this stolen splendor. Then, at the peak of his arrogance, when he's most dependent on that false foundation, I'll personally pull the ladder out from under him and watch him fall and shatter into a million pieces. I closed the back-end interface, picked up my phone, and dialed Ji Yun's number. "Yun, help me set up a meeting with Minister Chen from the Military District's technical headquarters. Tell him I'd like to discuss some preliminary ideas for the next generation Celestial Dome defense system." Celestial Dome, Ji Yun's voice on the other end of the line clearly faltered. It was a concept for a brand new defensive network I had been privately developing for a long time, far more expansive, sophisticated, and aggressive than the shield system. Once it was unveiled, the shield would be rendered completely obsolete. "Gigi, are you sure you want to initiate Celestial Dome now?" Ji Yun's voice was tinged with hesitation. "Affirmative." I stared out at the oppressive night, my tone Flat and devoid of inflection, some people need a reminder of who the truly indispensable one is. Chapter 4. Minister Chen was a quintessential technocrat. His temples were streaked with gray, his gaze sharp and penetrating, and he possessed an almost obsessive zeal for any project that could enhance the military district's capabilities. Sitting across from me, he tapped his fingers lightly on the desk, listening as I laid out the core concept of the celestial dome system. Utilizing quantum entanglement for real-time situational awareness, combined with deep AI learning, it can not only predict ballistic trajectories but also actively jam, even redirect incoming enemy fire. I slid a hefty preliminary proposal across the table toward him. In theory, it can establish an absolute defensive zone with a 50-kilometer radius. Minister Chen flipped through the proposal, his eyes growing brighter behind his glasses. He looked up at me, his voice brimming with barely contained excitement. Yuji, this concept is revolutionary. If we can actually pull this off, the shield system would be rendered child's play. What do you need for support? Just name it. Personnel, resources, you'll have it all. I'll need top-level clearance and absolute secrecy, I said calmly. The development of the Celestial Dome cannot be hindered by any existing framework or bureaucracy, including, well, the Blade faction. Minister Chen understood my implication immediately. He had some history with Pei Wuyan's father and was aware of the situation between Pei Wuyan and me. He pondered for a moment, then nodded. Consider it done. I'll personally oversee this project and classify it as top secret. Beyond you and the core team, no details will be disclosed to anyone, not even the Pei family. Thank you, Minister, I replied with a slight nod. However, Minister Chen closed the proposal, his gaze carrying a hint of inquiry. Yuji, I know you've been wronged, but the development of Tianqiong is for the nation, not for venting personal grievances. I met his gaze and replied calmly, Minister, I can distinguish between public and private matters. Sky Vault is for a stronger national defense. This will never change. As for childish tantrums, I paused, a faint, cold curve lifting at the corner of my mouth. That was just a side thing. Minister Chen gave me a long, thoughtful look, then said nothing, just slapped the proposal firmly. All right. I'll get the resources coordinated and set up the project team right away. Yuji, go ahead and make it happen. The news of Project Canopy's secret initiation was like a drop of water hitting a hot skillet, sending ripples through the innermost circle. I could sense the shift in the gazes around me. The looks that once held sympathy or pity were gradually being replaced by awe and intense curiosity. Ji Yun became my deputy, constantly on the move and swamped with work, yet his eyes always held a spark. Gigi, just you wait. When Canopy is unveiled, it'll scare the living daylights out of that wretched couple. I smiled without a word, my fingers flying across the keyboard as I laid down the initial data framework for Canopy. However, the tree craves calm but the wind will not cease. That afternoon, I was in the lab testing a piece of core code when the internal line rang. It was the receptionist, her tone hesitant. Mr. Tang, there's a Ms. Jiang Rongsu downstairs. She says she's Captain Pei's fiancé. She'd like to see you. She has something to pass along. Captain Pei's fiancé. My gaze turned cold. Just a few days, and she's already claiming her title, even tracking me down here. Tell her I'm busy with work. I hung up without another word. A few minutes later, the phone rang again. This time, Ji Yun answered. As she listened, her expression darkened. She covered the receiver and said to me, Gigi, that Jiang Rongsu is making a scene at the front desk. She says she won't leave until she sees you, and she's crying and sobbing. Drawing a crowd, I typed the final command, saved my progress, and stood up. I'll go check. As I entered the lobby of the Rand Center, I spotted Jiang Rongsu standing near the reception desk. She was wearing a simple, elegant dress, her eyes were red, and she was holding a beautifully wrapped gift box, looking utterly pitiful. A few passing staff members were casting curious glances her way when she saw me emerge. Her eyes lit up and she immediately came forward. Her voice was soft and sweet, deliberately affectionate. Sister Tang, you finally agreed to see me. I stopped, keeping a distance of more than a meter from her, and watched her perform with a blank expression. She seemed a bit flustered, but quickly forced a smile and held out the gift box in her hands. Sister Tang, this is a little something from Brother Wuyan and me, about what happened last time. We were in the wrong, and Brother Wuyan feels really bad about it too. Please, take this as our apology. You really must accept it. I glanced down at the gift box but did not take it. That won't be necessary. We aren't on terms that require apologies. Jiang Rongsu's hand froze mid-air, her eyes growing redder, her voice thick with tears. Sister Tang, I know you're still angry with us, but feelings can't be forced. Brother Wu Yan has always had me in his heart. We had no choice but to part back then. Now he's chosen to return to me. We're the ones who truly love each other. She took a step forward, trying to shove the box into my hand, her tone laced with a condescending kind of superiority. It's not expensive, just a small token from Brother Wu Yan. Take it, Sister Tang, that way, we can still see each other, right? I watched her affected manner and suddenly laughed. The sound was soft, yet it made Jiang Rongsu freeze mid-motion. Jiang Rongsu, I said slowly, my voice echoing clearly through the quiet hall. First, my mother only gave birth to me. Don't go making up relatives. Second, who Pei Wuyan chooses has nothing to do with me. You don't need to keep showing off in front of me. Picking up something I discarded isn't something to be proud of. Third, I said, my gaze fixed on her face, which had gone deathly pale. I enunciated each word clearly. This is the military district's core technology R&D center. Its security classification is top secret. You, a member of the cultural troupe, have trespassed into a core restricted area without authorization and for non-official reasons, and are attempting to harass and pester a core technical staff member. Tell me, what do you think will happen if I notify security and the Confidentiality Bureau right now? All color drained from Jiang Rongsu's face, the hands holding the box began to tremble. You're lying. I just came to deliver a gift. A gift? I raised an eyebrow. Delivered to a top-secret facility. Who told you I was here? Pei Wuyan. I took out my phone, pulled up the Confidentiality Bureau's internal line, and made a show of preparing to dial. Would you like me to verify right now whether your actions constitute grounds for suspicion of espionage? No, don't, Jiang Rongsu shrieked, yanking her hand back as if burned. The gift box clattered to the floor. She stared at me in horror, then at the surrounding staff with their varied expressions. The pitiful, delicate facade she'd been maintaining shattered completely. She turned and fled, her exit nothing short of a panicked rout. I watched her retreating, disheveled figure, then bent down, picked up the fallen gift box, and without a second glance, tossed it straight into the nearby trash bin. Yun, I instructed Ji Yun, who had hurried over upon hearing the commotion, find out who leaked my work location. Furthermore, draft an official letter in the name of the R&D Center to the cultural troupe, formally protest Comrade Jiang Rongsu's actions today, violating confidentiality protocols and trespassing into a restricted core area. Demand that her unit take disciplinary action and reinforce proper conduct training. Ji Yun's eyes sparkled with understanding as she gave a firm nod. Understood, I'll get right on it. I turned and walked toward the elevator. Behind me, the receptionist and other staff were whispering excitedly, their voices hushed but buzzing with energy. I know it won't be long before word of what happened today reaches the ears of those who need to hear it. Pei Wuyan, is this the white moonlight you've been cherishing in your palm? Absolutely. It's no match at all. Chapter 5. The performance troupe's response letter arrived sooner than I had anticipated. Rumor has it that Jiang Rongsu returned home, collapsed in tears into Pei Wuyan's arms, and gave a highly embellished account of how I had slandered her as a spy and humiliated her, utterly ruining her reputation in front of everyone. Pei Wuyan couldn't hold back any longer. Instead of coming to me directly, he pulled some strings, trying to suppress that disciplinary letter. He even attempted to turn the tables by accusing me of abusing my authority and falsely incriminating a comrade. Unfortunately for him, he miscalculated. The Celestial Dome project has been classified as top secret, and with that, my security clearance and access privileges have been significantly elevated. His little schemes were quietly quashed by Minister Chen before they could even leave the military compound. Not only was the disciplinary notice delivered to the song and dance ensemble as scheduled, but Jiang Rongsu also received an official reprimand. All her major performances and opportunities for external exchange were cancelled for the foreseeable future. It was a stinging, public slap in the face. I was lost in the vast ocean of data within the Celestial Dome, having almost forgotten about those two nuisances. That was, until Ji Yun walked into my office with an internal briefing, his expression unreadable. Gigi, take a look at this. She placed the briefing on my desk and pointed to an inconspicuous piece of news in the corner. It was an announcement for the next phase of overseas joint exercises for the Blade Special Forces. Location, Casa Canyon, mission classification, level S. Right there on the roster, beneath the briefing, Pei Wuyan's name stood out. Casa Gorge. My gaze sharpened. It was a lawless no man's land, a patchwork of rival factions, treacherous terrain, and frequent armed clashes. Every S-class mission is a dance on the edge of a blade. I hear this op is critical. Ji-Yun lowered his voice. It'll determine if Blade keeps its top dog status next year, and whether Pei Wuyan gets that extra star on his shoulder. My eyes were fixed on the briefing, my fingers tapping absently on the desk. Without the core predictive capabilities of S.H.I.E.L.D., they were about to bite off a truly tough piece of work this time. Yun, I looked up at Ji-Yun. The core algorithm verification for Phase 1 of Project Canopy requires a high-intensity simulation with real combat data. The live battlefield environment data from Casa Gorge is our best option. Ji-Yun was taken aback for a moment, then comprehension dawned, her eyes widening slowly. Gigi, you don't mean, I'll submit a joint request to Technical Headquarters and the Operations Command, I said calmly, with an air of unshakable composure. In the name of Project Aegis, we're requesting access to the real-time battlefield data stream from the Blade Special Forces Casa Canyon exercise for non-intrusive technical validation. The stated reason, to assist in assessing the battlefield situation and explore potential avenues for technical support. Ji-Yun drew a sharp breath. This, will Command and Pei Wuyan agree? How could they possibly allow us to just observe? They don't need to agree, I said flatly. This is a top-tier technical requirement, critical for the development of the next-generation defense system. Minister Chen will push it through. As for the operations department, as long as we emphasize its non-intrusive, a technical validation, and promise strict data confidentiality, they have no grounds to refuse. After all, an extra layer of technical assurance does them no harm. More importantly, Pei Wuyan is currently desperate to prove himself with a success. He won't openly oppose any technical support that might boost the mission's chances, even if the technical support comes from his disdainful ex. Sure enough, after the application was submitted, it faced some setbacks, but ultimately got approved thanks to Minister Chen's strong support and tacit approval from higher-ups. The approval document specifically emphasized, this is solely for data collection and technical validation, and no form of intervention in the command decisions of the Blade Special Operations Team is permitted. When I received the approval document, I was sitting in the control room of the Skydome project. On the massive screen, a 3D map of the Casa Canyon terrain had already been generated, with countless data streams flowing through it like veins, waiting only for the real blood to be injected. Ji-Yun looked at me with concern. Gigi, is it really, just for the data? I stared at the virtual canyon on the screen, a place soon to be stained by the fires of real war, and gave no reply. Just for the data, yes, but not entirely. I want to see with my own eyes how Pei Wuyan, without my shield, will struggle every step of the way on his coveted path to glory. Armed with nothing but his own blade, I will make him and the entire command see clearly exactly what they've lost by being without me. Tang Yuji, this isn't personal, this is just a long overdue performance test. The subject of the test was the man who had spoken so arrogantly, and his so-called sharp blade, soon to be dulled. Chapter 6. The wind from Casa's Canyon, carrying the scent of sand and smoke, seemed to blow through encrypted data streams into the Skydome control room. On the massive circular screen, the display was split into a dozen different views. Macro terrain from high-altitude reconnaissance satellites. Shaky first-person footage captured by the helmets of Blade team members, and a dynamic distribution map of enemy units simulated from intercepted signals. Pei Wuyan's voice came through the command channel, encrypted and noise-cancelled, still carrying his signature, unyielding coldness, echoing through the main control room. Hawk 1 reports arrival at Area A7, no anomalies detected. Falcon 2. Cover the flank, watch the high ground at 3 o'clock. Orders were clear, deployment orderly. At least on the surface, Blade remained a well-trained elite unit. Ji-Yun sat at the console beside me, staring at the fluctuating parameters on the screen, and murmured, they're being cautious. The initial infiltration phase has gone relatively smoothly. I remained silent, my gaze fixed on the blinking light that marked Pei Wuyan's position. He was leading the main team, advancing along a dry riverbed deeper into the canyon. That was the heart of the operation. Intelligence indicated it housed the enemy's secret communications hub we were tasked with destroying. The Skydome system operates quietly, voraciously ingesting battlefield data second by second, terrain contours, signal strength, environmental noise, even the physiological fluctuations of each Blade team member. The vast database is rapidly filling, modeling, and evolving on its own. Everything seemed calm, but I know, beneath this calm, Turbulent currents run deep without the real-time ballistic prediction and threat assessment provided by the shield system. Pei Wuyan's every decision relied more heavily on experience, intuition, and the life-risking intelligence relayed by forward scouts. This undoubtedly introduced greater uncertainty and risk into the mission. Seconds ticked by, and the Blade Squad moved like ghosts through the night, silently advancing deep into the heart of the canyon. Suddenly, in one corner of the screen, several red dots representing enemy units began moving erratically, almost simultaneously. The warning module of the Celestial Dome system emitted a low hum. A line of text flashed onto the tactical map. Behavioral pattern analysis indicates a high probability of an ambush in Sector B3. Recommend evasive action. At almost the same moment as the Celestial Dome alert, a frantic voice crackled over Pei Wuyan's command channel. The forward scout, Falcon 3 reporting. Anomalous heat signatures detected in Sector B3. I repeat, Sector B3 is hot. Pei Wuyan's orders followed instantly. All units, attention, alter course, reroute through Sector C4, Falcon 3, maintain surveillance, do not engage. On the screen, the glowing markers representing the Blade Squad swiftly changed their trajectory, steering clear of the potential death trap. Ji Yun let out a sigh of relief and couldn't help but glance at me. The predictive capabilities of Celestial Dome are even faster than we anticipated. I gave a slight nod, my expression neutral. This was only the beginning. The power of Celestial Dome far exceeded their imagination. Over the next several hours, similar scenarios played out multiple times. Celestial Dome consistently predicted potential threat zones with pinpoint accuracy, dozens of seconds, even a full minute in advance, by analyzing the enemy's subtle movements, signal signatures, and even environmental shifts. Pei Wuyan's command, while still decisive, now carried a distinct air of reactive haste. He was fumbling in the dark, while his opponent seemed to possess the gift of foresight. I can picture him now, on the other end of the comms channel, his brow furrowed in frustration, that suffocating feeling of an invisible hand tightening around his throat slowly rising in his chest. Finally, the squad reached the perimeter of the target area. The communications hub, disguised as a rock formation, was now within arm's reach. Falcon 1, in position. Falcon 2, in position. Reports from each team echoed one after another. Through the channel, Pei Wuyan's voice held a barely perceptible tightness. Execute as planned. Demolition team, 30 seconds. Cover team, clear all visible threats. The operation has entered its most critical phase. The control room was silent, save for the low hum of servers and the faint whir of data streams refreshing. 2 members of the demolition team moved silently toward the target building like cheetahs. 20 seconds. 10 seconds. Just as the demolitions expert was about to set the charge, the Sky Dome system's alarm shrieked to a piercing crescendo. The screen erupted in a blaze of crimson warnings. Critical alert. Multiple encrypted signal sources detected activating simultaneously. Suspected remote detonation device. Immediate evacuation advised. Almost as the warning sounded, a detonator's horrified shout erupted over the command channel. Booby trap. Boom. Even through the signal dampening, the massive explosion roared through the control room like a thunderclap. On one of the screens, a helmet cam feed was instantly swallowed by fire and smoke before dissolving into static. Falcon 5, Falcon 6, respond. For the first time, Pei Wuyan's voice betrayed clear panic and fury. Chaotic gunfire, shouts, and explosions instantly filled the entire channel. Cover, find cover, ambush, we're surrounded. Falcon 5 is critically hit, we need a medic. On the tactical screen, the red markers representing enemy units surged in from all directions like a tide, instantly overwhelming the blue markers of the Blade Squad. Pei Wuyan was shouting himself hoarse, trying to hold the line and organize a counterattack, but against overwhelming numbers and a meticulously laid trap, all resistance seemed futile. Ji Yun's face went pale, his fingers gripping the edge of the console. They've walked right into the trap. I watched the sea of red on the screen, a symbol of chaos and despair, and the single dot representing Pei Wuyan, flickering as it struggled to move through a hail of gunfire. Deep within, a frozen lake of emotion cracked open. Just a hairline fracture. It wasn't pity, nor was it satisfaction. It is a cold, almost cruel, verification. Pei Wuyan, look, without me, you and your blade truly struggle to make progress, and this is only the beginning. Chapter 7. A silent tension filled the control room. On the screens, red alarms flashed like the frantic pulse of a dying man. The life signs representing each member of the Blade team were fluctuating wildly. with two of them already fading to near nothingness. Pei Wuyan's voice cut through the crackling static, hoarse, frantic, yet straining for control as he tried to rally what was left. All units, converge on my position, form a defensive perimeter. Falcon 2, report casualties. Team leader, 5 and 6 are critically injured and unconscious. 8 took a bullet in the left arm. We're pinned down in the valley low ground. Enemy fire is too heavy. Harrier 4 reporting, enemy has taken the high ground on the east side. Our breakout route is blocked. Bad news kept coming one after another. The carefully planned raid turned into a trap, like fish in a barrel. The enemy was clearly prepared, with firepower and troop placements perfectly tailored to counter Blade's tactical habits without the comprehensive situational awareness and threat prioritization of the shield system. Pei Wuyan's command was like dancing blindfolded on the edge of a blade. With every step teetering on the brink of death, Ji Yan urgently relayed the analysis from Tianqiong. Enemy forces outnumber us by at least 3 to 1. A minimum of 4 firing positions have established interlocking fields of fire. The canyon exit is heavily fortified. They're aiming for total annihilation. Annihilate them all. Those 2 words dropped the temperature in the command center by several more degrees. I watched the glowing dot representing Pei Wuyan on the screen. He was using a massive boulder for cover, returning fire. His movements were still swift, but every dodge and counterattack reeked of the desperation of a cornered animal. The system logs of Celestial Dome scrolled rapidly on the side screen, recording every threat assessment, every ballistic simulation, every optimal solution calculation. If the Aegis system were still operational for him, it would have given at least a 20-second warning on that booby trap, flagged at least 3 optimal escape routes, and allowed him to evade at least 2 deadly crossfires. A shame there are no ifs. Command from HQ, an encrypted channel crackled to life. The voice from operations control strained with urgency. Razor, break out at all costs. I repeat, at all costs. Support is en route, but they need time. Roger. Pei Wuyan gritted out, his voice thick with blood. He lunged forward, spraying a burst of bullets to drive back the enemy closing in, then growled, all units, listen up. Gather the remaining explosives and assault the southwest corner, least defended by their fire. Falcon 2, take the wounded with you. 4, provide covering fire. The southwest corner. I furrowed my brow slightly. Almost simultaneously, the Skydome alert sounded again, more urgent than before. Warning, abnormal ground tremors detected in the southwest sector. Suspected pre-placed minefield. Survival rate for forced breakout, under 10%. Ji Yan cried out in alarm. Don't go southwest, it's a trap. But her voice could not reach the battlefield 1,000 miles away. Pei Wuyan, clearly seeing the southwestern corner as their only escape, commanded his remaining troops. Like a cornered beast, he led a desperate, final charge. Boom, da-da-da-da-da-da. The roar of explosions and the rattle of gunfire reached a sudden, deafening crescendo. On the screen, one by one, the blue dots began to flicker and fade. Falcon 2 is hit, Captain. Number 4 is down. Pei Wuyan's ragged breathing rasped through the comms like a broken bellows, punctuated by the sharp crack of bullets striking stone and the choked groans of dying teammates. Despair, like a frigid tide, seeped through the screen and spread. At that moment, the door to the control room was thrown open. Minister Chen strode in, his expression grave, followed by several high-ranking officers from the operations command. Their eyes immediately fell upon the chaotic state of the tactical map, and their faces instantly darkened. How's it going? Minister Chen asked in a low voice, a barely noticeable tremor in his tone. Pei Wuyan was a junior he'd watched grow up, and more importantly, a top-tier commander meticulously groomed by the military region. Ji Yan opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He just shook his head in despair. A white-haired old general slammed his fist onto the control panel. Damn it, how did this happen? What kind of command is Pei Wuyan giving? No one answered him. The answer was obvious. Without their crucial technological advantage, even the most elite special forces were nothing but lambs to the slaughter before a meticulously laid trap. The command center fell into a silence thick with despair. Everyone knew that, at this rate, Blade would be nothing more than a historical footnote in under 10 minutes, and Pei Wuyan, most likely. Minister Chen closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, his gaze swept sharply across the entire control room before finally settling on me. In that moment, his expression was profoundly complex, filled with anguish, regret, and a desperate, all or nothing resolve. He pushed past the generals who were still arguing and lamenting, strode up to me, and asked in a voice that was quiet yet carried undeniable weight, enunciating each word clearly, "Comrade Tang Yuji," he said, locking eyes with me. "Can Tianqiong take over command?" Chapter 8. Minister Chen's words landed like a boulder in still water, sending a silent shockwave through the command center. Every eye in the room instantly snapped to me. The gazes of the assembled officers were filled with shock, doubt, and a desperate, drowning man's flicker of hope. Take command. This means Celestial Dome will no longer be merely an observer and analyst, it will directly intervene in the battlefield, issuing commands to the Blade Special Forces team thousands of miles away. This violates the original principle of non-intervention and represents a complete subversion of the frontline commander's authority. The risks are immense, should it fail, or result in greater casualties. No one would be able to shoulder the responsibility. Ji Yun looked at me nervously, her lips parting as if to speak, but in the end, she swallowed her words. I looked at Minister Chen, his eyes held an unmistakable plea, and a trust so absolute it felt like a gamble with everything on the line. I turned my gaze back to the big screen. The dot representing Pei Wuyan flickered in the dense red encirclement. Like a dying candle in the wind, each flash tugging at the nerves of everyone watching. On the channel, his ragged breathing and fragmented commands mingled with explosions and the screams of his team, painting a brutal picture of the end times. Time is running out. I took a deep breath, suppressing the turbulent emotions rising in my chest, the pain of betrayal, the fury of humiliation. Now all were overridden by a stronger instinct, that of a technician, to save lives, to turn the tide. Affirmative. My voice was unnervingly calm, cutting through the tension in the dead silent room. But I'll require top-level clearance, and full access to Pei Wuyan's command channel. No hesitation, no questions. Minister Chen immediately turned and barked into the comms. "This is Chen Guotao, authorization code Alpha 09er. Transfer the highest command channel clearance for the Blade Special Task Force to the Celestial Dome Project Group immediately. I repeat, transfer it now." The order was executed immediately. The technician's fingers flew across the console, and a prompt flashed on the screen. "Authority transfer successful." I settled back into the command chair, donned the specialized noise-canceling headset, and my fingers danced across the virtual keyboard. The Aegis system interface instantly shifted from analysis mode into combat command mode. Countless data streams surged and computed at an unprecedented rate. Yun, sync all battlefield sensor data and activate the Aegis real-time tactical simulation module. Priority, maximum. My command was issued, the voice cold and precise. Acknowledged. Ji Yun immediately threw herself into the task. On the screen, the chaotic battlefield situation began to be deconstructed and analyzed by Canopy, enemy firing positions, fields of fire, estimated ammunition reserves, the real-time status, positions, and remaining equipment of friendly forces, the terrain details of the canyon, wind direction, lighting. All factors were fed into a massive model for millisecond-level computation. One by one, green lines representing optimal movement paths began to generate on the tactical map, simultaneously marking the weak points and temporary blind spots in the enemy's fire network. Canopy was operating at a speed beyond human limits, searching for that sliver of hope for the squad trapped in a desperate situation. And now, amidst the hail of gunfire in Casa Canyon, Pei Wuyan had just used a grenade to temporarily repel the enemies on the flank. A bullet grazed his cheek, drawing a line of blood. He leaned against the scorching rock, breathing heavily. The chaotic screams and pleas for help in the comms channel threatening to shatter his eardrums. Despair, like a cold serpent, coiled around his heart. He knew his command had failed. Every move had played right into the enemy's hands. The breakout in the southwest corner had failed, costing them 2 more men. The remaining team, including himself, were battered and bruised, their ammunition running dangerously low. Perhaps today would be the day he and Blade were laid to rest, just as he was about to issue the final command, ordering everyone to fight separately and break out in scattered formations in a desperate bid for survival. Sizzle, a sharp burst of electrical interference crackled through the headset. Then, as if wiped away by an invisible hand, all the noise vanished instantly. The channel fell into an eerie silence. Then, a voice, cold, clear, and utterly devoid of emotion, one he could never forget, suddenly and forcefully cut into the encrypted channel shared by him and the remaining team members. That voice had once whispered in his ear with gentle mirth. It had also, on the night of the celebration banquet, calmly delivered its final warning. At this moment, the voice pierced through the roar of gunfire like a judgment from the heavens. ringing clearly in the ears of every survivor. This is Skydome. Command authority has been assumed. All units, abort current directive. I say again. Abort current directive. This is the designated emergency evacuation route. Follow the marked sequence and adhere strictly to the specified time points. Pei Wuyan froze instantly, rooted to the spot, his pupils contracting sharply. Tang Yuji, how could it be her? Chapter 9, The Firmament, Command Transfer. On the comms channel of the remaining Blade Squad members, a few hesitant, startled murmurs broke out. The sudden, cold female voice stood in stark contrast to the hellish battlefield, carrying an unnerving authority that sent a chill through the air. Pei Wuyan snapped back to reality, a surge of fury, a volatile mix of absurdity, rage, and violation, exploding in his head. He was the commander of Blade, who gave her the authority. It was almost a reflex. He snarled into his mic, Tang Yuji, what the hell are you doing? This is a combat zone, get off my channel. Yet, his voice vanished without a trace. The cold, female voice didn't miss a beat, continuing to issue commands with a precise, almost robotic cadence. Falcon 1, Pei Wuyan, move 3 meters to your 11 o'clock immediately. Take cover behind the brown rock formation. Your current position will be saturated with RPG fire in 5 seconds. Pei Wuyan instinctively wanted to argue, but his body reacted before his mind could. Years of honing his instincts on the brink of life and death sent him diving sharply to the right. Boom! Almost the moment he moved, a rocket-propelled grenade streaked in with a fiery trail, striking the exact spot where he had been hiding. Debris and flames erupted into the sky. The searing blast wave completely shattered the rock he had been leaning against. Pei Wuyan lay prone on the ground, his ears ringing. The spray of shattered stone stung him sharply. He lifted his head and looked at the scorched, blackened crater left by the blast. A cold sweat instantly drenched his back. If not for that command, he'd be a broken corpse by now. Dead silence filled the comms channel, broken only by that steady female voice, as if she had just given the most routine of orders. Falcon 7, abandoned structure at your 1 o'clock, 2 hostile shooters, priority clearance. Falcon 3, detonate the preset concussion charge 5 meters to your front left, generate smoke for cover. All units, proceed along the marked Alpha 7 route and sequence, move southeast towards the valley fissure, maintain absolute silence and power down all non-essential electronic equipment. A clear, winding green path abruptly materialized in the corner of each squad member's helmet display, precisely marking the direction and timing of every step. The surviving squad members froze for a moment, yet, driven by the instinct to survive and the memory of Pei Wuyan's narrow escape, they acted without hesitation, instinctively following the sudden lifeline that had appeared. Falcon 7, copy, came the reply, voice thick with suppressed adrenaline, followed by 2 precise shots. The enemy in the fortification dropped. Falcon 3, copy, the concussion grenade detonated, and a dense cloud of smoke instantly obscured a small area. The scattered, chaotic remnants of Blade, who had been fighting as isolated individuals, were suddenly infused with a single, driving purpose. They began to move with an uncanny, lethal efficiency. Gone was the blind firing and panicked scrambling, every motion now aligned with the glowing green path and the cold, precise commands in their ears. Pei Wuyan knelt half-crouched behind the rock, watching his team move through the hail of bullets like marionettes, mechanical, yet astonishingly effective, dodging, evading, and counterattacking. A crushing sense of absurdity and helplessness gripped him. He remains the commander of Blade, but his orders are no longer obeyed. The elite unit he personally trained now falls under the remote control of a woman he once pushed away and mocked without mercy, thousands of miles away, and he could only watch helplessly, with no chance to interject. He tried to speak up in the channel, only to realize his microphone had been muted. Sometime he didn't even notice. He became a spectator within his own team inside the Celestial Dome main control room. Ji Yun watched the blue dots representing the Blade team members on the screen. They began moving along the optimal path calculated by Sky Dome, slicing through the gaps in the enemy's fire net with surgical precision. Miraculously, they broke free from the overwhelming suppression. His fingers trembled with excitement. We did it, Gigi. They're moving. The enemy has lost the target. My face was expressionless, my hands flying across the console as I made constant, minute adjustments to the commands. The Apex system's computational load had peaked, its cooling system emitting a low, resonant hum. The enemy is reacquiring position, I said, my voice still calm as I watched the red dots begin to converge again on the screen. initiate path beta 2, Falcon 1, lead the squad and accelerate. Get through the pass ahead in 15 seconds, my voice, transmitted clearly over the comms channel, reached Pei Wuyan's ears. His head snapped up, his gaze fixed on the narrow, rubble-strewn pass. It was their only way out, yet it was a death trap, a corridor fatally easy to seal with gunfire. Instinct screamed at him to object, to warn them of the danger, but no sound escaped his lips. He could only watch as his squad, following his lead, charged toward that pass without a moment's hesitation, and just as the team was about to clear it, the warning from Sky Dome and my command arrived. Simultaneously, enemy sniper on the cliff face to the right of the pass, Falcon 1, draw fire. Pei Wuyan's pupils contracted. Draw fire. That meant he had to expose himself, attract the sniper's fire, and create an opening for his squad to advance. It was a suicide mission. A chill shot up his spine and exploded at the base of his skull. Instinct screamed at him to resist, to demand an answer, but the cold voice showed no emotion, as if merely stating a fact. Execute the order. At the same time, a dot representing his own position was highlighted on his helmet display, and a countdown began to flash. 3, 2, no time to hesitate. The instant the countdown hit 0, Pei Wuyan burst from behind cover and fired a rapid burst toward the sniper's suspected position. Bang! Almost the instant he was exposed, a muffled gunshot rang out from the cliff face. A bullet grazed his tactical vest, sparking a shower of fire. The force of the impact made him stagger, nearly losing his balance. In the split second the sniper's shot revealed his position, Skydome's command rang out again, targeting another precision shooter in the squad. Falcon 9, lock and eliminate. Bang! A sharper, crisper gunshot rang out. A dark figure plummeted from the cliff face. The passage is clear. The surviving Blade team members didn't hesitate, swiftly and orderly passing through the death pass and vanishing into the deeper terrain of the canyon. Pei Wuyan stumbled through the pass last, his back pressed against the cold rock wall as he gasped for breath. The spot grazed by the bullet burned fiercely, but what tormented him more was the overwhelming surge of humiliation, fear, and something indescribable, a chilling shock that froze his soul. He survived. He and his team survived, thanks to that woman's orders at his most desperate and powerless moment. The person he had personally cast aside held his life and death in their hands, in a way he could neither comprehend nor resist. Over the comms, that familiar yet alien, icy female voice crackled to life once more, tinged with the perfunctory detachment of a mission accomplished. Blade team has disengaged from the primary combat zone. Extraction route transmitted. Command authority returned. Good luck. Then, the comms went dead in his earpiece. The chaotic din of the battlefield returned, along with the voices of his teammates reporting in, a mix of exhilaration and confusion after their narrow escape. Pei Wuyan, however, seemed to have all the strength drained from him, and he slowly slid down to sit on the ground. The canyon wind swept across his face, slick with sweat and caked in dust and blood, carrying a biting chill. He raised his hand, watching his faintly trembling fingertips, as that voice echoed relentlessly in his mind, the voice that had calmly warned him at the victory banquet, the voice that had just coldly ordered him to his death, and then saved his life. Without you, the Blade and I will be better off. His drunken, scornful laugh from back then still rang in his ears at this moment. It felt like the most vicious curse, turning back to consume its caster. Any regrets he didn't know. All he felt was an unprecedented, bone-deep chill, spreading rapidly from his heart to the very tips of his limbs. Chapter 10. The remnants of Blade miraculously evaded all pursuit and ambushes along the route planned by Skydome, successfully rendezvousing with the belated support force. The mission in the Casa Canyon has come to a close, marked by heavy losses and an astonishing, last-minute reversal. The news, upon reaching the homeland, caused a major uproar among the top leadership. The casualty report for Blade was staggering, nearly decimated, but what truly stunned all those in the know was the mission report's account of the command being taken over at the last moment by a system called Skydome, which ultimately allowed some of the team members to survive. As the commanding officer, Pei Wuyan bore undeniable responsibility for the mission's failure and the heavy casualties among his team. He was suspended pending an internal investigation. The praise and accolades that once surrounded him instantly turned into doubt and immense pressure. I, meanwhile, was thrust into the spotlight due to Skydome's astonishing performance at a critical moment. Awards, accolades, and increased resource allocation followed in quick succession. The Skydome project, once highly classified, had Transformed into an openly recognized, high-potential star within the military region. Minister Chen patted me on the shoulder, his voice filled with emotion. Yu Ji, we owe this success to you. Celestial Dome has performed exceptionally well. Headquarters has decided to fully accelerate its development and deployment. I accepted it all calmly, my face betraying little joy. The data from Casca Canyon had driven Skydome through a crucial evolution, but it was still far from enough. Ji Yun was actually quite happy, but beneath her excitement, a hint of concern lingered. Ji, there are all sorts of rumors going around now. Some say you're Pei Wuyan's secret strategist, that he can't function without you, and others even claim that you're doing this on purpose to prove yourself, to hit him where it hurts, because he dumped you. I adjusted the holographic projection before me, where the more intricate architectural diagrams of Sky Vault flowed across the display. It's there. Freedom to think whatever they wish, I said calmly. The value of celestial canopy doesn't need to be proven by proving anyone wrong, but, Ji Yun hesitated, the Pei family, and Jiang Rongsu, I'm afraid they won't let this go easily. I lifted my eyes and looked out the window over in the military compound. Things must be brewing beneath the surface right now. A mere clown, hardly worth mentioning. Pei Wuyan was suspended from duty and under investigation. Trapped in the officers' quarters with no place to go, once bustling with visitors, the house now stood eerily quiet, its doors seldom crossed. Only Jiang Rongsu came every day without fail, bringing carefully prepared soup, staying by his side, and offering comfort. Brother Wuyan, please don't be too upset. The failure of this mission wasn't your fault, it's just that the enemies were too cunning. Jiang Rongsu scooped a spoonful of soup, gently blowing on it to cool it down before bringing it to Pei Wuyan's lips. Her eyes red with unshed tears. It's all that Tang Yuji's fault. If she hadn't been so petty and cut off the shield system's access back then, how could you have ended up in that situation? She did it on purpose, she just couldn't stand to see you do well. Pei Wuyan leaned back on the sofa, his face pale and drawn, his eyes vacant as he stared at the ceiling. Jiang Rongsu's words seemed to register with him, yet somehow they didn't. The final moments in the Casa Gorge haunted him like a nightmare. Day and night, the whistle of bullets, the sight of comrades falling, and that bone-chilling voice that held his life in its hands. Without you, both me and Blade will only be better. He only now truly grasped how absurd, and how tragic, that statement was. Brother Wuyan, have some soup, you haven't eaten properly in days. Jiang Rongsu's voice trembled with tears as she pushed the spoon forward again. Pei Wuyan swung his arm with a sudden, sharp motion. Clang. The soup bowl toppled over, splashing scalding broth all over Jiang Rongsu. She let out a sharp cry as the searing pain brought instant tears to her eyes. Get out, Pei Wuyan growled, his voice hoarse and laced with a fury on the edge of collapse. All of you, get out. Jiang Rongsu was stunned, clutching her scalded hand. She stared at him in disbelief, tears welling in her eyes. Brother Wuyan, you're shouting at me. I told you to get out, did you hear me? Pei Wuyan shot to his feet, his eyes bloodshot, his chest heaving violently. I need quiet. Quiet. At that moment, he looked like a wounded, out-of-control beast. Jiang Rongsu had never seen him like this before. She flinched in fear, a tangled knot of hurt, terror, and a faint, almost imperceptible resentment twisting in her heart. She bit her lip, and in the end, ran out of the apartment in tears. Only Pei Wuyan remained in the room, amidst the mess on the floor and the strong smell of soup. He slumped back onto the sofa, burying his hands in his hair and letting out a stifled, beast like groan. Failure, humiliation, a chilling sense of dread, and a complex, tangled, and venomously growing sentiment towards that woman, one he himself was unwilling to acknowledge. Did he regret it? No, he couldn't afford to regret. To regret would mean he was wrong, that he was admitting he couldn't live without Tang Yuji. He was just unlucky. Yeah, that's all it was, bad luck. He needed to get back on his feet, to reclaim everything that was rightfully his. He was still Pei Wuyan, the captain of the Blade. Given the chance, he would definitely. Just then, his private phone rang. It was an encrypted number. He snatched up his phone irritably, answered it, and snapped. Who is this? From the other end of the line came a deep, authoritative voice. It was his father. Wuyan, the review results are in. Pei Wuyan perked up, sitting straighter. Dad, how's it going? There was a silence on the other end of the line for a few seconds before the voice came back, slow and deliberate. Command. Failure, significant casualties. Captain Blade is hereby relieved of duty. Like a bolt from the blue, Pei Wuyan froze instantly, his mind going completely blank. Removed from office. But, his father's voice rang out again, firm and unyielding, the Pei family won't abandon you, I've secured an opportunity for you, one to redeem yourself. Pei Wuyan grasped at the lifeline like a drowning man, asking urgently, what opportunity? The military district command has decided to form a brand new rapid reaction force, codenamed Dragon's Tooth. Its equipment and authorization levels will be top tier. Father Pei paused, lowering his voice further. And the tactical core of this new unit will be built around the celestial dome system currently under development by Tang Yuji. Pei Wuyan's heart gave a violent squeeze. The message from the top is clear, Skydome is the future. And Dragon's Tooth is the sword that carries it. Pei's father spoke with a note of complexity in his tone. Wuyan, you are one of the people who understand special operations best. If you could become the commander of Dragon's Tooth, and if we could regain Tang Yuji's technical support, the rest went unsaid by Pei's father, but Pei Wuyan understood perfectly. He needs the position of Dragon Feng commander to turn his fortunes around. Whether he could secure this position and effectively command this new unit largely hinged on one thing, his ability to mend his relationship with Tang Yuji. Long after the call had ended, Pei Wuyan remained frozen in place, the receiver still held to his ear. Sunlight streamed through the window pane, illuminating his pale, contorted face. Go and beg Tang Yuji, the woman he had personally pushed away and once so wantonly humiliated, the woman who, in the canyon, had coldly commanded him, yet also saved him. A turbulent mix of humiliation, resentment, rage, and a certain secret longing churned violently in his chest, threatening to tear him apart. Chapter 11. News of the Dragon's Tooth commander selection swept through the military district like a sudden gust of wind. Anyone with eyes can see that this new force built around Tianqiong represents the resource allocation and development direction for the next decade. There's only one seat at the table, yet the contenders are as numerous as fish in the river. The shadow of Pei Wuyan's dismissal and investigation had yet to fully recede, but the connections and deep-rooted influence cultivated by the Pei family over the years began to exert their force. Whispers started to circulate that Captain Pei was simply unlucky, and that when the chips are down, it's Pei Wuyan you still turn to. He himself shed his previous despondency, becoming active once more. He began appearing at various rehabilitative training sessions and social functions, as if the disastrous defeat at Casa Gorge had been nothing more than a fluke. I know he's fighting tooth and nail for the Dragon's Tooth position. Ji Yun was seething with indignation. How dare he even try to compete? He nearly got the entire blade unit wiped out. If it weren't for Aegis, he'd be pushing up daisies by now. I flipped through the next phase test plan for Aegis without looking up. The higher they climb, the harder they fall. But Ji Yun leaned in closer, lowering his voice. I heard the Pei family is pulling strings everywhere, trying to get him to mend fences with you. Do they really think that if you just give the nod, him getting Dragon's Tooth is a done deal? I set down the document, picked up the water glass beside me, and took a small sip. The warm water slid down my throat, bringing a fleeting comfort, yet it could not thaw the frozen lake within my heart. Tone, neutral, translation, ease the relationship. Such a light word, as if the public humiliation at the victory banquet had never happened, as if Jiang Rongsu's clumsy provocations were merely jokes, as if the lives lost in the Casca Valley could all be so easily erased. Yun, I said softly, watching the figures running on the training field outside the window. Do you know why some wounds never heal? Ji Yun paused for a moment, then shook his head. Because. I turned back, meeting her gaze with calm eyes. Apologies and repentance can soothe the victim's emotions, but they cannot alter the fact that the perpetrator made a choice. The moment he chose to abandon and humiliate you, it meant that in his heart, something else mattered more. Any attempt to make amends afterward is nothing but a calculated performance, cheap and utterly repulsive. Ji Yun nodded with a vague understanding. So, I tugged at the corner of my mouth, offering a smile devoid of warmth. There's no reconciliation between us, only reckoning. Just then, the intercom buzzed. The front desk informed me that Pei Wuyan was downstairs and wished to see me. It was bound to happen, and here it is. Ji Yun immediately grew tense. Gigi, should I tell him you're unavailable? I can say you're busy. No need. I stood up, straightening my training uniform. Have him wait in meeting room 3. Some things just have to be faced head-on. Running away isn't my style. Meeting room 3 is located in the annex of the Rand D Center, a relatively quiet spot. When I pushed the door open, Pei Wuyan was standing by the window with his back to the entrance. He had changed into a brand new uniform, the shoulder insignia temporarily absent, yet his posture remained upright, as if trying to preserve his usual pride, but the tension in his shoulders betrayed the unrest within. At the sound of the door opening, he turned around. A few months apart had left him thinner, his usual defiance masked by a deliberately suppressed gloom. His gaze on me was complex and unreadable, filled with inquiry, scrutiny, and a flicker of something he likely hadn't even noticed himself, apprehension. Yuji, his voice came out dry and raspy, an awkward attempt to recapture a familiar tone that now rang hollow. I didn't respond. I walked over and sat on the sofa opposite him, my posture distant. Captain Pei, is there something you need? That single Captain Pei drew a clear line between us. Pei Wuyan's expression stiffened. He walked over and sat down across from me, placing his hands on his knees and unconsciously clenching them. About the Kasra Canyon incident, thank you. He avoided my gaze, staring fixedly at the coffee table between us, his tone strained. If it weren't for you, Celestial Dome, it's my duty. I cut him off, my tone flat and uninflected, testing the system's performance, and incidentally, reducing unnecessary casualties. The words duty calls pierced him like a needle. He snapped his head up to look at me, a flicker of irritation flashing in his eyes, but it was quickly suppressed. He took a deep breath, as if steeling himself with resolve. Yuji, I know. I was a complete jerk before. At the victory banquet, I shouldn't have treated you that way, and Rongsu, she can be a bit impulsive too. I apologize on her behalf. Apology, finally said it. I watched him quietly, observing the insincere regret in his eyes and the restless impatience to achieve his goal. I've received your apology, I nodded, and as a flicker of hope lit up in his eyes, I added, is there anything else? I still have data to process in the lab. The expulsion order was issued without any hesitation. Pei Wuyan's facial muscles twitched. He leaned forward, his tone edged with urgency. Yuji, is this all we have left? Just business between us? 3 years, we'd been together for 3 years. I know you're still angry, take it out on me, do whatever you want, but Lanya, he finally got to the point. Dragon's Tooth is the future of our military district. It needs the right commander, and it needs the full support of Sky Dome. Yuji, only by working together can we unleash its full potential, just like the old days. He spoke with such sincerity, as if the deep hurt between us had never happened, as if we were still that perfectly in sync pair. I almost wanted to applaud his outstanding performance. Captain Pei, I leaned back slightly, putting some distance between us, my gaze carrying an unhidden edge of mockery. I think you've misunderstood a few things. First, our relationship ended long ago when you publicly told me to get lost for Jiang Rongsu. There's no lingering resentment, just strangers passing by. Second, Skydome belongs to the nation. Its support targets are determined by military region needs and project requirements, not serving any individual ambition. Third, I said, my gaze sweeping over his instantly darkened expression, enunciating each word with perfect clarity, and this is the most crucial point. Do you honestly believe that I, Tang Yuji, am the kind of person who would ever go back to an ex? Or do you think that after everything you and your so-called white moonlight have done, I would stoop to compromise, to swallowing my pride for the sake of some supposed alliance, or even pretend to play nice with you? Pei Wuyan's face drained of color, turning from pale to ashen, then flushing a deep, angry red. He shot to his feet, his chest heaving as if he had suffered a grave insult. Tang Yuji, must you be so cruel? I've already swallowed my pride and apologized. What more do you want from me? Do I have to get down on my knees and beg? Watching him lose his composure and reveal his true colors, I suddenly felt a profound sense of emptiness. This was the man I had once cherished with all my heart, the one I would have trusted with my life. Childish, ridiculous, and despicable. I rose to my feet as well, meeting his gaze at eye level. My voice was quiet, yet carried a cold intensity capable of crushing every ounce of his pride. Pei Wuyan, listen to me carefully. I will not support your bid to command Dragon's Tooth. Not only will I withhold my support, I will leverage every ounce of my influence to ensure you never take that seat. Because you're not worthy. With that, I turned away from his face, which had instantly gone ashen, as if his very soul had been drained, and walked out, pulling open the door to the reception room. Sunlight streamed in through the corridor window, harsh and glaring. I squinted slightly. Deep within, the frozen lake that was my heart seemed to have cracked open a tiny fissure, letting in a sliver of light. The reckoning has only just begun. Chapter 12. My words were like a final verdict. completely closing off Pei Wuyan's chance to take control of Dragon Feng through legitimate means. The Pei family and he himself clearly weren't going to sit back and wait for disaster. Open operations went underground, and a wave of covert activities targeting both the Skydome project and me began to surface. First, an anonymous letter arrived at technical headquarters, questioning the security of the Celestial Dome system and my professional integrity, insinuating that the data from the Kasra Canyon rescue operation had been fabricated. Then, whispers began to circulate within a small circle of the military district, spreading rumors about me turning love into hatred, settling personal scores under the guise of official duty, and abusing my authority to suppress an outstanding commander. Crude tactics, but effective enough to make your skin crawl. Ji Yun was furious. He pulled strings to trace the source, but the leads were sporadic and fragmented, all eventually pointing vaguely towards several departments with close ties to the Pei family. They're like a cornered dog, lashing out in desperation. Ji Yun spat through gritted teeth. I remained surprisingly calm. I had anticipated this the moment I decided to stop Pei Wuyan. The Pei family is deeply entrenched and will never easily give up such a valuable prize as Dragon Tooth. Let them jump. I stared at the latest stress test data from Skydome, my tone flat. Make sure all the evidence is preserved. The real trump card is often saved for last. The selection for the Dragon's Tooth commander has reached its most intense phase. After several rounds of screening, only 3 final candidates remain for the ultimate defense, with Pei Wuyan prominently among them. Despite my explicit opposition and the stain of the Kasra Canyon incident, the influence of the Pei family and his past qualifications still managed to secure him a spot in the final round. The final defense briefing was held in the largest conference room of the military district's operations center. The room was filled with high-ranking officers, and the atmosphere was solemn. As the chief engineer of the Celestial Dome project, I was specially invited to attend with the right to question and advise. I sat in a forward position, giving me a clear view of the expressions on the faces of the 3 candidates on the stage. The other 2 were distinguished talents from other military districts, composed and capable. Pei Wuyan, however, wore an impeccably pressed service uniform, his temporarily reinstated rank insignia gleaming. He struggled to maintain an air of calm and confidence, but the occasional glance he cast in my direction betrayed a hint of unconcealed resentment and nervousness. He knew I was his biggest wild card. The defense begins. The first 2 candidates present their leadership philosophies, visions for future warfare, and preliminary plans for operating in coordination with the Skydome system, each with clear thinking and distinct strengths. It was Pei Wuyan's turn. He stepped to the front of the stage, adjusted the microphone, and began his statement. It must be said that, setting aside personal grievances, he truly possesses unique insights in the field of special operations. Drawing on the experience of Sharp Blade, he proposed an exceptionally aggressive rapid assault tactic. Delivering his words with passion and conviction, many of the generals listened and nodded in agreement. Therefore, I believe Dragon Feng should not merely be a shield, but a spear that can pierce any defense, and the Sky Dome system will be the sharpest eyes and the keenest mind of that spear. He waved his arm, his voice resounding with conviction. I, Pei Wuyan, have both the confidence and the capability to lead Dragon Feng to become the most lethal blade in the military region. His statement drew considerable applause. However, just as he was basking in his triumph, ready to face questioning, I picked up the microphone in front of me. The entire conference room fell silent in an instant, all eyes turning to me. Pei Wuyan's smile froze, his gaze suddenly sharp, edged with wariness and a faint, barely noticeable flicker of panic. Candidate Pei Wuyan, my voice, calm and level, carried clearly through the PA system to every corner of the conference room. Your tactical concept is impressive. However, I have a question for you. I looked up, my gaze fixed directly on him, and asked, enunciating each word deliberately, in this ambitious offensive plan of yours, there seems to be no mention of how to avoid repeating the disaster of the Kasra Gorge, specifically, how you intend to ensure both the safety of the team members and the minimum viable completion of the mission in a scenario where critical technical support is lost and intelligence proves to be severely flawed. So, I must ask, do you believe such a situation is impossible to occur again, or do you consider the sacrifice of team members to be an acceptable, necessary cost? That question struck like a razor-sharp dagger, piercing straight into the heart of Pei Wuyan and all his supporters. The Kasra Canyon remains an inescapable stain and a raw nerve for him. Pei Wuyan's face instantly drained of color. He opened his mouth to defend himself, but under the gaze of my all-seeing eyes, all his eloquent words rang hollow. That mission, he stammered incoherently, a fine sweat beading on his temples. A low murmur rippled through the hall. The generals who had just been nodding in agreement now furrowed their brows. A commander may be bold, may make mistakes, but he must learn from them, and never disregard the lives of his subordinates. I didn't let it go, pressing further with a calm tone that carried immense pressure. Furthermore, to my knowledge, during the early stages of the Casa Canyon mission, Blade received multiple potential risk warnings from the technical department, none of which were heeded. My question is, in your future command decisions, how will you balance personal experience with the objective data support provided by the technical department, when the two are in conflict, which takes precedence? These two issues, one concerning human lives, the other scientific decision-making, directly exposed Pei Wuyan's most critical flaw in command style, an over-reliance on personal experience and intuition, which at times bordered on stubbornness. Pei Wuyan stood on the stage, sweating profusely, his face ashen. He tried to marshal a counter-argument, but in the face of my sharp, fact-based questions, any defense he could muster seemed hollow and laughable. The atmosphere in the conference hall had shifted completely. Skeptical and scrutinizing gazes, like spotlights, pinned him firmly to the pillar of shame. I knew he was finished. Dragon's Tooth needed aggressive, pioneering warriors, but it needed a modern commander who respected life and science even more. Pei Wuyan, not worthy. I set down the microphone, unable to watch his faltering figure any longer. The outcome of the defense was entirely predictable. Pei Wuyan is completely out of the game. Chapter 13. The official appointment for the commander of the Dragon's Tooth unit was finally announced, and the position went to another candidate whose qualifications and capabilities were equally outstanding. Pei Wuyan's name was completely erased from that illustrious list. When the news broke, the Pei family was furious, but there was nothing they could do to change the outcome. In the face of ironclad facts and the consensus among numerous senior officers, any underhanded tactics had lost their power. As for Pei Wuyan himself, after the public humiliation of the review hearing, it was as if the last vestige of his spirit had been drained. He grew more sullen and irritable. Transferred out of the combat forces, he was assigned to a sinecure post in a backwater department, a move tantamount to being sidelined, effectively marking the end of his military career. The once favored son of heaven has fallen into the mire. I felt little satisfaction, only a profound indifference. This was the price he deserved to pay. However, just as the tree desires stillness, the wind refuses to cease. Pei Wuyan had quieted down, but Jiang Rongsu, that daughter vine that had clung to him, seemed to have lost its sole support. Growing ever more frenzied and unscrupulous, she blamed me entirely for Pei Wuyan's downfall. She believed I had ruined her brother Wuyan and destroyed the wealth and status that had been within her grasp. Her harassment of me began to escalate. At first, it was just anonymous threatening letters filled with curses, insults, and veiled threats to ruin my reputation. I handed them straight over to security and paid them no mind. Seeing that her petty schemes were getting her nowhere, Jiang Rongsu grew desperate. That day, just as I had finished the phase acceptance for Celestial Dome and stepped out of the tech headquarters building, she cornered me right at the entrance. It had been months since I last saw her, and she looked haggard. The delicate, fragile little white flower image she used to meticulously cultivate was completely gone. Her eyes were filled with venom and a kind of reckless, self-destructive madness. She was clutching a folder tightly in her hand, as if it were some kind of lethal weapon. Tang Yuji, she shrieked my name, rushing up to block my path, drawing sidelong glances from the staff leaving work around us. I stopped and looked at her impassively. Can I help you, you wicked witch, you vile woman, she shrieked, pointing an accusing finger at my face, her voice sharp and shrill with rage. It's you, you're the one who ruined brother Wuyan. You can't have him, so you'll destroy him. May you die a miserable death. Foul language, unfit for decent ears. I didn't bother with her nonsense and turned to leave. Stop right there. Jiang Rongsu slammed the folder in her hand down in front of me. Papers scattering everywhere. Look at this, just look at what this is. I glanced down. Scattered across the desk were some blurry photocopied images, seemingly showing me in a normal conversation with a male officer, along with a few cherry-picked screenshots of communication logs, clumsily attempting to fabricate the illusion of an improper relationship. A frame-up. Is this the best you've got? I almost laughed out loud. Jiang Rongsu. I lifted my gaze, my eyes as cold and sharp as a blade. Do you have any idea of the charges for fabricating evidence and defaming a serving senior technical officer? Her eyes widened and she took a half step back at the intensity of my gaze, but then her face twisted with even deeper hatred. Don't try to scare me, this is proof. I'm going to report you. I'll ruin you, make everyone see the true face of your hypocrisy. She acted as if mad, her voice growing louder. Drawing a crowd of onlookers, I looked at her hysterical expression and suddenly felt an overwhelming irritation, like a buzzing fly, harmless, but utterly disgusting. Go ahead, my tone was flat, laced with a trace of undisguised contempt. Would you like me to give you the hotline numbers for the Discipline Commission and the State Secrets Bureau, or shall I take you there myself? My calm and resolute demeanor actually stunned her. She didn't seem to have expected this kind of reaction from me. You're not afraid, she cried out, her bluster failing to mask her fear. Afraid of what? I took a step forward, closing in on her. My voice was low, yet carried a chilling pressure. Of these shoddy, full of holes forgeries of yours, or of your brother Wu Yan, who's already in hot water himself, coming to back you up again. I looked down at her face, contorted with fear and rage, and spoke slowly and clearly, enunciating every word. Jiang Rongsu, I gave you chances. It was you, time and again, who burned every bridge. You think climbing onto Pei Wuyan will make you soar to the top? Too bad. Relying on mountains, they'll crumble. Relying on people, they'll leave. You see him as your lifeline, but you don't realize he's just a pile of useless mud that can't even stand upright. And you, my gaze swept over her deathly pale face, are nothing more than a pitiful parasite clinging to this mess. Those words, like the most vicious curse, shattered Jiang Rongsu's last shred of composure. She let out a shriek, like a cat with its tail stepped on, and lunged at my face with her nails bared. I'll rip your mouth apart. I was ready for it and sidestepped the attack with ease. She had thrown herself into it with too much force, unable to stop her momentum. She stumbled and crashed to the floor. Her meticulously styled hair came undone, and her dress was covered in dust, a picture of utter humiliation. Suppressed snickers rippled through the surrounding crowd. Lying on the ground, she lifted her head and glared at me with pure venom, her eyes like poisoned daggers. Without giving her another glance, I nodded to the security personnel who had rushed over upon hearing the commotion. This woman is suspected of fabricating evidence, slander, defamation, and physical assault. Please handle this according to the regulations. Having spoken, I stepped over the so-called evidence scattered across the floor and headed straight for the car parked nearby. Ji Yun sat in the driver's seat, clearly having witnessed the scene just now, a look of satisfaction on his face. Deserved it. People like that deserve exactly this kind of fate. I fastened my seatbelt and closed my eyes. Go back. The car pulled away from the tech headquarters, leaving the farce behind. I knew that with Jiang Rongsu's obsessive nature, she would never let this go. She was like a bomb waiting to go off, and I was waiting patiently, waiting for her to blow herself and everything she wanted to protect to smithereens. Chapter 14. Jiang Rongsu was detained for defamation and attempted assault. Although the Pei family quickly used their connections to bail her out, the incident completely tore off her mask of hypocrisy and ruined her reputation within the military compound. She grew increasingly paranoid and unhinged, channeling all her hatred directly toward me. She became convinced that only by destroying me completely could she and Pei Wuyan have any chance of turning their fortunes around. Pei Wuyan's situation went from bad to worse. After being sidelined, he drowned his sorrows in drink all day, his temper growing increasingly volatile. Jiang Rongsu's farce was the final straw, turning him into a laughingstock among his colleagues. The Pei family was utterly disappointed in him and began diverting resources to other, more promising scions. With their backs against the wall, the former golden couple finally took a desperate gamble. They set their sights on Celestial Dome. After all, Pei Wuyan had once been a frontline commander, possessing an uncanny understanding of the military system's operations and vulnerabilities. As for Jiang Rongsu, during her time in the cultural troupe, she had leveraged Pei Wuyan's connections to rub shoulders with some rather unsavory characters. They hatched a reckless plan, steal part of the core code of Celestial Canopy and sell it to foreign entities. This would not only secure them a massive fortune to disappear with, but also deal a crippling blow to me, their nemesis. It could even throw the whole situation into chaos, giving Pei Wuyan a chance to fish in troubled waters. It was a suicidal pact with the devil, a sure path to self-destruction. But they were beyond caring. The main control room of Celestial Canopy. Deep in the night, I stood before the massive circular screen, watching the data streams flow across it, a sign that the system's self-check was complete. everything was normal. Jiyan approached with a report, his expression grave. Gigi, we've detected several probing attacks on our perimeter servers recently. The methods were highly covert, the source IPs were routed through multiple hops, ultimately tracing back to a few sensitive overseas nodes. I took the report and glanced over it, my eyes turning cold. The fish is finally about to take the bait. Increase surveillance to maximum. Initiate Project Venus Flytrap, I ordered. Venus Flytrap was a proactive defense and counter-tracking program I had preset long ago, designed for potential internal leaks or external attacks. Disguised as part of the system, once triggered, it would clamp down on the intruder like a carnivorous plant and implant a reverse tracking code. Understood. Jiyan immediately went to make the arrangements. In the early hours of the morning a few days later, alarms blared without warning. Venus Flytrap triggered. Someone's trying to bypass the third-layer firewall and access the core database. The on-duty technician's voice was tense. I rushed to the main control room. On the screen, red intrusion trails writhed like venomous snakes, attempting to burrow deep into the system's core. The hacker's skills were exceptionally advanced, and they had an uncanny familiarity with the military system's architecture. Lock down the source, I said in a low, firm voice. Technician rapidly inputs. Source points to the physical address of Deputy Director Pei Wuyan's office. He used a high-level temporary access card. It's really him. Reverse tracking implant successful. Intercepting opponent's operational data. The screen began rapidly scrolling through snippets of code being stolen, and an active, encrypted overseas communication link. Document all evidence, notify security and the Confidentiality Bureau. Move now, I ordered, my voice cold. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. Pei Wuyan, Jiang Rongsu, this is the path you chose for yourselves. In the officer's apartment, Pei Wuyan stared at the computer screen with bloodshot eyes, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Jiang Rongsu stood nervously behind him, constantly glancing toward the door. Hurry, Brother Wuyan, hurry. Her voice trembled. Shut up, Pei Wuyan snarled, his forehead slick with cold sweat. A flicker of unease shot through him. The system's defenses seemed more agile than he'd anticipated, but the lure of immense gain and the desperate, all-or-nothing madness driving him left no room for second thoughts. Just as he was about to package and send out the final batch of encrypted data, bang, the apartment door was violently burst open. Armed security personnel and Secret Service agents descended like thunder, flooding in instantly. Freeze, hands in the air. The dark muzzle of the gun was trained on the two of them. Jiang Rongsu let out a terrified shriek and collapsed to the floor. Pei Wuyan froze. His eyes darted from the unsent progress bar on the screen to the cold gun barrel before him. The color drained from his face, and the final glimmer of hope in his eyes was utterly extinguished. He knew it was over. It's all over. Chapter 15. The news of Pei Wuyan and Jiang Rongsu's arrest exploded like a thunderclap, sending shockwaves through the entire military district. Stealing the core secrets of the Celestial Vault and defecting to the enemy. This is treason. This is no mere breach of discipline or personal dispute. This is a crime so heinous it will be forever branded in the annals of infamy. The evidence is irrefutable. Complete records of the theft and encrypted communications with foreign entities were recovered from Pei Wuyan's computer. Jiang Rongsu, as an accomplice and a source of partial intelligence, is equally culpable. The Pei family mobilized every resource to extricate them, but in the face of such ironclad evidence and the egregious nature of the crimes, all efforts were futile. Instead, they brought the fire upon themselves, suffering a devastating blow to their family's power and influence. Awaiting them is the most severe judgment a military tribunal can deliver. As a key witness and victim, I cooperated with the subsequent investigation. Standing outside the interrogation room, looking through the one-way glass at Pei Wuyan, haggard and vacant-eyed, I felt nothing but calm, free from hatred or sorrow. He was once a proud blade, now reduced to broken, rusted scrap. This is the path he chose for himself, and the price he paid. Judgment Day. The military tribunal was solemn and dignified. The gallery was packed, with countless eyes fixed on the pair of defendants seated at the dock. Pei Wuyan wore prison garb, his once upright frame now hunched, his hair disheveled and his eye sockets sunken, as if he had aged 20 years in an instant. He kept his head down, too afraid to look in any direction. Jiang Rongsu descended into a state of utter frenzy, alternating between tearful cries of injustice and hysterical curses directed at me, drawing repeated warnings from the bailiffs. The prosecutor's voice rang out with unwavering force as he enumerated their long list of crimes: abuse of power, theft of state secrets, treason, conspiracy to endanger national security. Each charge, each count, was backed by ironclad evidence. The defense lawyer's arguments fell flat just as the judge was about to pronounce the verdict. Jiang Rongsu suddenly broke free from the bailiffs, pointed a trembling finger at me in the gallery, and shrieked, "It's her, she's the one who did this, she set us up, Your Honor, she's the real culprit." Every eye in the courtroom instantly turned to me. I rose slowly to my feet, meeting Jiang Rongsu's venomous glare. And Pei Wuyan's finally lifted gaze, eyes brimming with a tumult of emotions, and began to speak calmly. "Your Honor, I request permission to speak." After receiving permission, I walked to the witness stand, my gaze sweeping across the room, finally settling on Pei Wuyan's face. "I never meant to harm anyone." My voice was clear and steady. "Everything I did, at first, was simply to protect the technology that deserved to be protected, to uphold its dignity and value." At the victory banquet, I gave you a choice, Pei Wuyan, I said, looking at him, each word echoing the scene of that day. "I took off the ring and told you, once I walk out that door, I won't look back." Pei Wuyan's body jolted violently, his face turning as pale as parchment. "It was you who chose Jiang Rongsu, who chose to humiliate me before everyone, who chose to abandon everything between us and the trust forged in battle." My tone remained calm, yet carried the weight of a mountain. "And it was you who, after losing the protection of the shield, acted with reckless arrogance, leading to devastating casualties for the blade. And above all, it was you who, when cornered, chose the most foolish, the most unforgivable path, betrayal." Each word landed like a sledgehammer against Pei Wuyan's heart. He trembled from head to toe, barely able to remain standing. As for Jiang Rongsu, I turned to the woman who was still struggling, my gaze filled with nothing but icy contempt. "You claim to love him, yet all you do is drag him deeper into the abyss. Your love is selfish, narrow-minded, and lethal." Getting to this point had nothing to do with conspiracy or a setup. I averted my gaze and turned to the judge, delivering my final statement. "This is the price they must pay for the choices they made." With that, I gave a slight nod and turned to walk back to my seat behind him. There was a silence as deep as death. The judge struck the gavel and began to read the verdict. "The defendant, Pei Wuyan, is found guilty of treason and theft of state secrets. On the combined charges, the sentence is death, to be carried out immediately." "The defendant, Jiang Rongsu, is found guilty of conspiracy and endangering state security. The sentence is life imprisonment, with permanent deprivation of political rights." The gavel fell, and the matter was settled. Jiang Rongsu let out a shriek that was scarcely human before collapsing into complete unconsciousness. Pei Wuyan, as if all his bones had been removed, crumpled to the floor. His eyes were vacant as he mumbled, "I regret it, I truly regret it. A pity it was all too late." I stood up and, without casting a final glance at the man and woman, walked straight out of the courtroom. The sunlight was a bit blinding, so I squinted slightly. 3 years of feelings, one betrayal, ended completely in this way. The heavy stone that had been weighing on my heart finally seemed to be lifted. From this moment on, the sky is high and the sea is wide. End of text. Story 2. In the most difficult time, I broke up with Fu Ci. When we met again, he had already become the president of the largest entertainment company in the industry, and there was a new female companion by his side. So, when he awarded the prize that belonged to me to the popular young actress Song Yao again, I announced my retirement from the entertainment industry. I calmly deactivated all my public accounts and disappeared from the public eye ever since. It was not until the next year that my manager found my draft folder. It recorded my illness and an expired love letter that I hadn't had the chance to send out in high school. "Sister Mian, don't be too sad. This award isn't that important anyway. Let Song Yao have it." "Yeah, the Best Actress award next year is the crucial one. It will definitely be yours." The girl on the stage took the trophy with a beaming smile. When giving her thanks, she mentioned Fu Ci. "Mr. Fu has often helped me when I was at my lowest. To me, he is more than just my benefactor." The meaning of confession in her words was quite obvious. Even the cameraman was excited about them. When Song Yao received the award, the big screen switched to Fu Ci. On the screen, Fu Ci's features were cold and aloof. He was wearing a well-fitted high-end black suit, which made him look solemn and rigid. However, the faint smile at the corner of his eyes somehow gave the impression that the flower on the mountain top was descending from its pedestal. There were waves of cheers from the audience. "The president and his awarded actress are such a great couple." He has been looking at Song Yao the whole time and didn't even glance at his phone once. "If this isn't real love, what is?" Song Yao's eyes flickered slightly, and she tightened her grip on the microphone. "If possible, I hope to walk the future path with him. The eyes of the audience present were all focused on Fuxi's expression on the big screen. He nodded slightly, as if making a promise. The smile in Song Yao's eyes grew even wider. When she stepped down from the stage holding the trophy, Fuxi went to meet her in person, but the evening dress was too long, and she had some trouble walking, so she looked at the man beside her with a pitiful expression. The man picked up the girl and carried her down the stairs in full view of everyone. The girl nestled shyly in his arms, but once out of the camera's view, Fuxi's expression turned cold. He seemed more absent-minded. I didn't have the time to care. I gritted my teeth. The bones in my body started to ache again. They stepped down from the stage amidst the hubbub, while I quietly left from the back door. I took a deep breath by the window in the corridor. The corners of my lips slowly curved into a relieved smile. Such an ending wasn't too bad. Why should we torture each other until the last moment? So, I took out my phone and sent my last Weibo post. Due to personal reasons, this account will no longer be updated. Finally, I wish everyone a long and healthy life. The accompanying picture was the retirement statement from the entertainment industry that I had prepared long ago. My retirement statement was drowned out by the trending topics of Fuxi and Song Yao's award ceremony. Before the award ceremony, Fuxi and Song Yao had been on the trending list many times, having meals together and going shopping together. He gave all the best resources to Song Yao. He also gave her all his favoritism and exceptions. Everyone thought that Song Yao and Fuxi must be together. And I, the heartless woman who had abandoned him when he was at his most difficult time, deserved to have my resources snatched away from me time and time again. But no one knew that the night before, Fuxi had kept me tossing and turning in bed all night long. I passed out several times due to exhaustion. He forcefully kissed me awake and made me look at him. What's wrong? You were the one who begged to come back a year ago. And now you won't even say a word to please me. He bit my neck fiercely. Su-mian, whether it was before or now, is it really that hard to hear you say you love me? Fuxi and I broke up in our senior year of college. To be exact, I broke up with him without hesitation during the difficult time when his parents passed away, and a year ago, after a banquet, I offered myself to him, and we got back together. I was a has-been actress. He was the president of the largest entertainment company at present. He hated me. Even when he was drunk, he would still talk about the time I abandoned him. When he woke up the next day, he was a bit surprised to see me in his bed, but there was more sarcasm in his eyes. Su-mian, we haven't seen each other for a few years, and you've learned to climb into the bed of an investor. Aren't you afraid that I'll put your current appearance on the trending list right now? I endured the pain. Fuxi, I apologize to you for what happened back then, but I really need the leading lady role in director Zhang's movie. This time, I'm willing to agree to any request. Fuxi was silent for a long time. In the end, he only said 2 words, get back together. The moment I agreed, I had my own selfish motives. I also wanted to be with him during my last days. I got the leading lady role as I wished. Director Zhang was also very happy. This role was originally reserved for you. Nowadays, these popular actresses can't portray the feeling I want. Only you can do it. However, your illness, Director Zhang was the first person in the industry to know that I had bone cancer. We had collaborated on many movies, although we didn't explicitly say it. Our relationship was more than that of an ordinary director and an artist. When she looked at me, her eyes were filled with worry. I didn't want to make her worry, so I lied to her. The doctor said it was discovered early and can still be treated. It won't be a problem. That's good. If you don't feel well, you must tell me. I'm still looking forward to our next collaboration after this movie is done. Okay, I lied to her again. This movie was probably the last one in my life. During the 3 months of filming, Fuxi often came to visit the set. He would also pick me up and take me home on time after my work was done. After several times, Director Zhang finally couldn't help asking me, Xiao Mian, is Mr. Fu your boyfriend? I looked at the young man who was just like the one waiting for me after class in college and smiled gently. Yes, he is my boyfriend, Director Zhang said with emotion. That's great. Now there will be someone to support you in this industry, and I can rest assured, during the time we just got back together, I was really happy. I thought that God had finally shown me some mercy. At least, I could be with him during my last days, until one day, a video suddenly broke out online. It showed that 5 years ago, I climbed into the bed of the producer to get my first role. The video was in high definition and without any censorship. Fu Xi cancelled the meeting and rushed back home. When I got home, there were cigarette butts on the floor, one after another, and they hadn't been stomped out. Do you have anything to say to me? 5 years ago was the day when I broke up with him. I didn't blame him. Anyone would think that I broke up with him, a down-and-out poor guy, just to get close to a wealthy patron. No, I said indifferently. He grabbed my shoulders like a madman and questioned me. Su-mian, do you have a heart at all? You won't even lie to me. And I was as numb as a doll. He left. He didn't come back all night. Early the next morning, this trending topic was suppressed. A new trending topic topped the list. Hashtag Fu Xi, president of Xingmian culture, and popular actress Song Yao are suspected to be in a relationship. Hashtag Fu Xi didn't mention breaking up with me, but from then on, any announcements that were supposed to be for me would eventually be cancelled for various reasons. As time went by, no one came to me anymore, and this award was something I had been striving for. Some time ago, a movie I had filmed before was released, and there was a lively discussion about my acting skills. Among the overwhelming news about Fu Xi and Song Yao, my fans stood up and expressed their indignation for me. Some fans released a collection of my acting skills over the years, and it happened to be just before the Starlight Award selection. Everyone thought that this award would finally go to me. But unexpectedly, I only got a nomination. Song Yao's acting skills don't deserve this award. I don't believe there's no insider dealing. I heard that the judge of this award has some connection with Fu Xi. It seems that he shows too much favoritism to his girlfriend. They are in a relationship that everyone knows about. Although I also hope that Su-mian can get this award. The setting of the president and his artist is really exciting, but I still feel sorry for Su-mian. She has been working hard since her debut but hasn't won any important awards. Wasn't there a scandal about her before? She was involved with the young master of the now-defunct Hua family. There aren't many clean people in the entertainment industry. Has Su-mian retired from the entertainment industry? Is it true or false? I guess she's disappointed with the entertainment industry. The award she had been working hard for was taken away through insider means. I would also retire if I were in her place. I silently scrolled through all the comments on the trending topics. Fu Xi, I wish you eternal happiness in the place where you shine brightly. I went to the hospital and completed the procedures for chemotherapy and hospitalization. When I was paying, I connected to the internet, and messages popped up one after another. Fu Xi, Su-mian, it's just an award. Are you really going to retire from the industry because of it? Lin Ku, are you really planning to retire? Fu Xi is just having a fling with Song Yao. You are the person he has liked since high school. Now that you've reconciled, your development in the entertainment industry is surely promising. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my arm, my knuckles lost their strength, and my phone dropped to the ground. I endured the pain and picked it up. The screen of the phone reflected my current face, a pale and ugly face without makeup. I was silent for a long time. I still didn't reply to these messages. I deactivated all my public accounts. I only left a private account to which I hadn't added anyone. I originally thought that in my last days, I would spend the rest of my life quietly, but unexpectedly, just as I went downstairs to buy some daily necessities, Fu Xi appeared. His eyes were fixed on my hospital gown. Su-mian, what are you doing in the hospital? His expression seemed to be a mix of nervousness and accusation. When I went to the hospital for the first time because of the bone pain, Fu Xi had the same expression. That was in our junior year of college. We were both very poor at that time. He was very afraid that I would die, especially afraid that I would die because of poverty, because his mother and sister had both left this world due to a lack of money for medical treatment. At that time, the doctor didn't diagnose bone cancer. We both breathed a sigh of relief, but this time, I wasn't so lucky. For a moment, the defense line in my heart was on the verge of collapsing. From the moment I was diagnosed with bone cancer until now, I had been trying my best to accept this fact and face life and death calmly, but at the moment I saw him in the hospital, I realized that I had never really let go. I was afraid of death. I was afraid that he would know about my death. I wanted to live. I really wanted to live. Why are you crying? Fu Xi frowned, and his expression was flustered for a moment. He instinctively reached out to wipe the tears from the corner of my eye. Sister Mian, are you sick too? Song Yao trotted over from a distance and naturally took Fu Xi's arm. Fu Xi withdrew his hand. Song Yao looked at me with concern. I know the doctor's here. Do you need me to find a more authoritative doctor for you? You and Ci are high school classmates. If you need any help, don't hesitate to ask. The appearance of Song Yao immediately brought me back to my senses. I looked at Song Yao. Congratulations on winning the Starlight Award. Song Yao's expression was a bit uncomfortable. Sister Mian, oh, CI, let's go in first, we might be photographed at the entrance, and God knows what rumors will spread. Fu Ci nodded and pressed the remote control. The black Ferrari 458 in the distance flashed twice. He had changed his car. The moment I turned around and walked into the hospital holding my things, Fu Ci suddenly grabbed my wrist. Before I could pull my hand back, he read the words on my hospital bracelet in a trembling voice, bone cancer. Song Yao also covered her mouth in surprise. Fu Ci's emotions gradually collapsed. I forcefully pulled my hand back and smiled. I said I was going to use this reason to retire from the industry. What do you think? Judging from your expression now, you seem to believe it. Since even you believe it, the netizens will probably believe it too. Fu Ci still didn't fully believe it. Song Yao spoke up at the right time. Sister Mian, at least you should shave off your beautiful long hair, or it will look too fake. I smiled and arranged my shiny black hair. Yeah, I forgot about that. Fu Ci's expression changed from nervousness to anger. Su Mian, you're really good at pretending. Fu Ci and Song Yao went in. They were heading towards the obstetrics department. It was in the opposite direction of my inpatient department. I went back to my ward and took off my wig. The little girl in the next bed looked at the wig I put aside. Sister, can I borrow your wig to wear? I heard from the nurse that this girl, who was 15 or 16 years old, was in the late stage of bone cancer, just like me. I nodded and handed the wig to her. She carefully put it on her head, and her already small head looked even smaller. She parted the hair by her ear, revealing her delicate little face. She picked up her phone and took several photos with a smile. She looked very beautiful. This way, my mom won't worry about me. Sister, thank you. The pain of chemotherapy almost drove me to the brink of collapse. I didn't know how many times I had cried in the dark. The little girl in the next bed saw that I was in so much pain and tried to find topics to talk to me. Sister, do you know Song Yao, who is very popular now? I've often seen her in the news recently. She and Fu Ci are really in love. They are exactly the kind of love I dream of. In my next life, I also want to have a relationship like theirs. By the way, I heard that he has an ex-girlfriend, and it was exposed. Do you know about it? I was taken aback for a moment, then I shook my head. Oh, but that's all in the past. I don't know why the netizens still keep bringing it up. The little girl went for an examination after saying that. I finally couldn't help it and logged into my private account. No one knew about this account, and I only followed Fu Ci. I clicked on the trending topics, and the netizens were in an uproar. I saw Su Mian in the hospital last time. Her hair is still as long as before. She doesn't look like she's having chemotherapy at all. People who make jokes about cancer will definitely get cancer themselves in the future. Why doesn't she just die? You guys still remember that someone said Fu Ci dated her in high school, but the trending topic was removed quickly. She probably saw how affectionate Fu Ci and Song Yao are and is using the pitiful act on purpose. I feel sorry for Song Yao. Fu Ci should keep his eyes open. Judging from Fu Ci's attitude, it's probably over. Su Mian will definitely be discharged from the hospital soon and then cling to another man. Our Su Mian isn't that kind of person. She has already retired from the industry. Can you stop targeting her like this? I didn't expect that at this time. The only ones who would speak up for me were my fans. But now, I couldn't even step forward to speak for them. The effect of the chemotherapy wasn't good. The doctor gave some suggestions, and I decided to go home. There wasn't much time left, so I wanted to see the world again. When I left, I added the little girl next door on my contact list. We made an agreement that I would send her photos and postcards from every place I visited. The world is big enough. It has prepared everything for a person on the verge of death. I returned to the city where I went to high school. The city is small, the streets are small, but it's lively. There is a park next to the high school. Since it's just the beginning of the spring semester, there aren't many people in the park, and it's rather desolate. I wrapped my coat tightly and walked in. According to my memory, the wild grass and vines are lush and free. The old cypress tree near the high school has become even thicker. I sat on the chair, listened to the leaves rustling in the wind, and felt the sun slowly moving along its eternal path. In the silence of the whole park, time seemed to stretch, and life also seemed to be extended. Once, when I had nowhere to go after school every day, I would come here and wander around for a while. Here, I seemed to feel that I wasn't that lonely. And I knew that every time at this moment, Fu Xi was also there. He was in a corner where I couldn't see, silently accompanying me. With him there, I knew that I wasn't alone. I also knew that he felt that he wasn't alone either. Perhaps this is the meaning of companionship, making two children who had never been loved since childhood feel warm. I stretched out my hand to block the sunlight. Because I took the painkillers, the bone pain subsided, but my body became numb. It wasn't as warm as when the sunlight used to shine on my arm. I squinted my eyes, and a familiar figure seemed to appear in my sight. I thought it was my hallucination, but as the figure got closer, I realized it wasn't. Fu Xi? I tentatively asked. Fu Xi sneered. So, you retired from the industry and came here. I barely managed to pull out a smile. I had nowhere else to go. Don't I always come here? I was afraid that if I stayed a little longer, he would notice something was wrong. I got up and wanted to leave, but he suddenly grabbed my wrist. Why are you in such a hurry to run away? Are you feeling guilty? I still didn't dare to look at him. Fu Xi became even angrier. Su Mian, since you still plan to leave now, why did you come back in the first place? It seemed that I couldn't leave for a while. I calmly replied to him. I was short of money, so I came to you. Now that I'm not short of money anymore, I'm leaving. I looked at him with a cold smile. You traveled over 300 kilometers just to ask me this question. Fu Xi, is it that you still can't let go of me? I'm engaged to Song Yao. My heart ached sharply. Then I wish you all the best. Is there nothing else you want to say to me? He stared at me, not missing the slightest change in my expression. I don't have the money to give as a wedding gift now, but if you want to invite me to be a bridesmaid when you get married, I can consider attending. Fu Xi suddenly pinched my face. Fu Xi, instead of you blocking my way in the industry, it's better for me to retire voluntarily, isn't it? More time saving and effort saving. You know, I've always been like this. I will stop the loss in time before things get to the worst. Wasn't I the same back then? Instead of wasting time and money on you in the end, it's better for me to find a richer man while I'm still young. It's just that I miscalculated. You're actually so rich now. If I had known earlier, I would have stayed with you, wouldn't I? What happened back then was like a wound that had scabbed over but never fully healed for Fu Xi. And I just wanted to tear off that scab and let the wound be exposed naked in the air. Fu Xi let go of me, and his hand hanging by his side clenched tightly. He said clearly, word by word, since you regret it, then come back. I could hardly believe what he was saying. Su Mian, do you think you can live a relieved and comfortable life after retiring from the industry? The things you've done and the mistakes you've made should torture you every minute and every second of every day. With red eyes, he looked at me sarcastically. You were the lowly mistress that you once hated the most. I pushed him away, and my whole body was almost trembling. Fu Xi, do you have some perverted hobby? You got back together with me but were still entangled with Song Yao. Now that you're finally with Song Yao, you're still thinking about me. 5 days. Fu Xi looked up at me. You stay here with me for 5 days, and I'll let go of all the things in the past. Your 5 days for my 5 years, okay? Just 5 days. I knew very well that he was like this now just because of his obsession in the past. He wanted me to be as humble as he was, to be so lowly that he could look down on me, to make him regret spending so much time on me, and to make him glad that I left back then. Since that's the case, let it be that I'm accumulating some merit for the next life before I die. Fu Xi took me to the rental house where we used to live. It was less than 60 square meters. He had bought the whole building, and the furnishings in that room were still the same as before. The furniture was old and shabby, the air conditioner was covered with dust, but the double bed in the bedroom was very clean, as if someone had been living there often. My old rabbit doll was still placed on the bed. Fu Xi's phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID and turned off the phone. I consciously sat on the bed, turned on the air conditioner, and unbuttoned my clothes. What are you doing, Fu Xi? Don't you want me to be your lover for these 5 days? Aren't I doing what a lover should do? Fu Xi caught a glimpse of my protruding bones and looked away. You've really done a lot to fit the persona. I raised my eyebrows and looked at him, seeing how pitiful I am. Can you be a bit gentler at night? Fu Xi got up in disgust. I'm going out to buy something. Only then did I put on my coat. When Fu Xi went out, he even locked the door from the outside. I smiled bitterly and took another painkiller from my bag. It hadn't been long since I took the last painkiller. It seemed that the medicine was becoming less and less effective. When Fu Xi came back, he bought a lot of groceries. There were fish, meat, vegetables, and there were also potted plants, slippers, toothbrushes. For 5 days, there's actually no need to buy so much. Fu Xi stared at the things in the bag. Anyway, it doesn't cost much, yeah. Fu Xi was no longer the young man who used to live frugally in the rental house, he was rich. Now, he had a lot of money. He rolled up his sleeves and went into the kitchen. I sat on the chair outside the kitchen playing with the sunflowers he had just bought. I would look into the kitchen from time to time. The man's figure had become much broader, but his proficiency in cooking hadn't decreased at all. In the past, I would always go in at this time and hug him from behind, then he would pick up a piece of freshly stir-fried meat, blow on it, and put it into my mouth. Be careful, it's hot. At that time, although we were poor, he took good care of me. In order not to waste the ingredients, he cooked the meat very deliciously, and all of it went into my mouth. But now, I just calmly retracted my gaze. Su Mian, come and help. Fu Xi called me into the kitchen. A plate of stir-fried shredded pork with green peppers had just been cooked. He picked up a piece of shredded pork and held it in front of my mouth. His tone was cold. Try it and see if we need to add anything. No need, I turned my head away. I'm not picky about food. Fu Xi's hand hung in the air. After a while, he threw the chopsticks into the trash can together. That's right, these 5 days passed very peacefully. Every morning, Fu Xi would go to the breakfast shop downstairs to buy breakfast and groceries, and then come back to cook for me. His way of cooking was the same as before, but the taste had eventually changed since Fu Xi took away my phone. Most of the time I would read books or sleep in the room. Occasionally, I would play with the little wildcat that jumped onto the window. At night, although I lay on the same bed as Fu Xi, nothing happened. We would just quietly listen to each other's breathing and fall asleep. But I knew that with my illness, I probably wouldn't last a few more days. On the last day, I took the initiative to say, Fu Xi, let's go out for a walk. Let's go and have a look at the high school campus. Fu Xi looked at me quietly for a long time before saying, okay. It was Sunday. The high school was on holiday. There were still a few students studying by themselves in the classroom. Fu Xi returned my phone to me, and I took a lot of photos along the way. We walked slowly on the road, feeling the sunlight and the breeze. I couldn't help but think of the past. Fu Xi and I were in different classes in high school, but we were on the same floor. He was a troublemaker in the class. He had done everything like fighting and skipping classes, and I was the most taciturn one in the class. Because of my family situation, no one was willing to be friends with me. When I was hiding in school and didn't dare to go home, I would run into Fu Xi, who was in detention. He would have different injuries on his face every day, but even so, he still had a victorious attitude. Perhaps out of tacit understanding and dependence, almost every day after school, I would secretly look forward to him being there. When he was there, I would feel safe, and he was there every day for 3 years. Until one day, the class found out that I called the police to report that my second uncle had violated me, but in their eyes, this matter was more like a topic of conversation. Uncle-nephew incest, it's so exciting. Yeah, were you enjoying it at that time? You didn't call the police until you had enough fun, did you? Ha ha ha. I was so angry that I wanted to cover their dirty mouths. Instead, they got even more excited and splashed a basin of water on me. Seducing with a wet body, won't your second uncle like you even more? I didn't understand. I wasn't the one who did something wrong. Why did everyone think it was my problem? Fu Xi had just come back from a fight. When he heard the commotion in our class, he rushed in and punched that person. He took me away and asked me, do you want to live with me? Sensing my fear, he stuffed a knife into my hand. If you're not at ease, you can keep this knife with you. I nodded. Since then, I had been with him. We changed from two people snuggling up to each other to a couple who knew and loved each other, until I was diagnosed with bone cancer. Since it all started here, let it end here. Fu Xi picked up a pen that another student had dropped on the ground. I suddenly stopped. Actually, I know that you would wait for me here every day after school, then you would follow me and send me home. I took a deep breath and faced him directly. Fu Xi, I know all of this. He clenched the pen tightly and held his breath as he looked at me. Su Mian, what do you want to say? I endured the pain and said, Fu Xi, the 5 days are up, we're really over. For the sake of never seeing each other again, there's something I want to tell you. I've never said I love you because I really don't love you. With a snap, Fu Xi broke the pen in his hand. His eyes immediately turned red. Su Mian, what are you talking about? I looked at him with great calmness. I don't love you. I've never loved you. If you have any self-respect, please stop pestering me. Okay. The bones all over my body started to ache again. I ran out of the school gate. Before long, Fu Xi caught up with me. He grabbed my hand forcefully and forced me to stop. Since you didn't say it before, why are you saying it now? I lowered my eyes and smiled. Probably my conscience finally caught up with me. Seeing you care about the past, I still feel a bit sorry for you. I couldn't see his expression clearly at the moment, but I could see his hands hanging down and trembling. Fu Xi, I once used you to get rid of my family. Later, when you had no more value for me to use, I chose to leave you. I've been lying to you from beginning to end. Before I could finish speaking, a truck suddenly rushed over on the road. The sound of the horn was ear-piercing. The truck is out of control. Get out of the way. My legs suddenly twitched, and the pain was so intense that I couldn't move at all. Seeing the truck getting closer and closer, for a moment, I suddenly thought that it would be okay to die like this. At the critical moment, Fu Xi suddenly pushed me away. I fell heavily to the ground and lost consciousness. I didn't know how long I was in a coma. When I woke up, the smell of disinfectant filled the air. The president of a well-known entertainment company was in a car accident and is still being rescued. The popular actress Song Yao is by his side and never leaves. At this time, the nurse came over to change my dressing. I grabbed her and asked, "Where's Fu Xi? Mister, Fu is out of danger, don't worry, but as for your body, the cancer has spread throughout your body, we don't know when it will." I held her hand and pleaded, "Please keep it a secret for me, thank you so much." I asked about Fu Xi's ward. When I got there, he had already woken up. Song Yao was by his side. "You're still worried about Su Mian. She's fine, you should take good care of yourself. The media outside are all asking how you got injured. Xi, won't you stop torturing yourself even now? She doesn't love you. Everyone can tell that she doesn't love you. What are you still deceiving yourself for? The public opinion is really fierce now. It's only a matter of time before they dig out your past with Su Mian." Fu Xi's pale lips moved slightly. "Tell them to remove it. The doctor has already been arranged. Xi, let's go back for treatment." "Okay." Fu Xi's gaze turned towards the door of the ward. I instinctively hid behind the door. "Fu Xi, I've looked at you countless times out of the corner of my eye. How could I not love you?" Fu Xi didn't come to see me until he was transferred to another hospital. He also didn't ask for any news about me again. That's probably for the best. I took out my phone and sent the photos taken at school to the little girl. Half an hour later, the little girl's mother messaged me back. "I'm Xiaohan's mother. Xiaohan has gone to heaven. She was still thinking about you before she left and said that if you sent a message, I should reply for her. She said that she will bless you in the sky to live as long as possible. You should also take good care of yourself." I looked up at the sky. The sky was endless and vast enough to hold everything. I replied, "You take care too." There were many photos in my phone taken before I started chemotherapy. I was very beautiful and dazzling in those photos. There were also a few photos of Fu Xi that I secretly took. I found a nearby photo studio. When I went to print my own funeral photo, I printed those photos of him as well. Fu Xi and Song Yao's engagement ceremony was grand and stayed at the top of the trending list for several days. At the same time, I received a strange text message on my phone. "As you wish, I will let go. I also hope you are well." I copied the text message into the draft box and then wrote below, "Yeah, no matter where I am, I will also wish you happiness and well-being." I scrolled up. The Weibo draft box of this private account was almost full. Since I left Fu Xi, the changes in my illness every day, my daily life, and every bit of my past memories with Fu Xi that came to my mind were all recorded here. However, none of them were posted, no one knew about them, and after I die, no one will see them either. The painkillers no longer worked, but the closer I got to the end, the more I felt that there were many things I hadn't had the chance to do yet. The raccoon cat that often came to me for food hadn't been fed. I didn't know if anyone would take care of it. After I left, I also didn't know who I should give my funeral photo to. It seemed that giving it to anyone would bring bad luck. Should I give it to my manager, or to Director Zhang? Just as I was hesitating, Director Zhang suddenly called me. "I finally got in touch with you, Xiaomian. Where are you now? I'm coming to find you." Director Zhang said that she saw the news about Fu Xi and was worried about my feelings, so she took the initiative to contact me despite our agreement. Don't blame me. I've held back from contacting you many times. It's just that Director Zhang looked at my emaciated appearance and couldn't hold back her sobs. She hugged me and cried bitterly. "Why did this happen to you? Why?" I patted her back. "I didn't want you to come to me because I was worried you'd be like this, but I'm really happy that you're here now. I thought I was brave, but when it really came to this moment, I found that I'm still selfish and want you by my side. I haven't had any work in the past 2 months. Can I stay with you? I nodded, okay. However, I didn't have 2 months left. Director Zhang stayed with me, found an adopter for the raccoon cat, and took over all the flowers and plants I had grown, saying that she liked them and would take care of them. She pushed me outside to bask in the sun every day, but I slept more and more, and the time I was awake became less and less. I didn't know how long I could hold on. Director Zhang always patiently stayed by my side. If I slept for a long time, she would try to wake me up. Ian, I called her by her name for the first time. She was a bit surprised. I've always called you Director Zhang before. I'm trying calling you Ian for the first time. I actually don't have many friends in my final days. Besides you, there's no one else to accompany me. I have bad luck with making friends, and I'm afraid of bringing misfortune to the people around me. So I don't get too close to anyone, but it's the end. Now, I'll be willful just this once. Ian cried and tried to stop me. Don't talk so much. I understand. Save some strength and rest. I shook my head. Ian, thank you for staying with me, but I really don't think I can hold on anymore. The bones all over my body ached every minute and every second. Now, death should be a relief for me. I trust you to handle the matters after my death. Just keep it simple, if possible. It would make me even happier if you could send me a bouquet of flowers every year. As for Fu Ci, please keep it a secret from him for as long as you can. It would be best if he never finds out. If he does, please tell him that I'm the one who was sorry for him first, and I don't blame him for everything he did to me. You still love him, don't you? I tried my best to open my eyes and said with my last bit of strength, I do, but he doesn't need to know. It was the waking of insects again. I finally felt the warmth of the sun. Fu Ci, I hope you live a long and healthy life. Fu Ci finished a day of tedious work and returned home. For some reason, he always felt a bit stuffy in his chest. Suddenly, there was a crisp sound from the study. He opened the door and found that the wind outside the window was howling fiercely, knocking over the potted plants on the shelf. It was the flower that Su Mian bought on the day she came back. He squatted down to clean up the fragments and potting soil all over the floor. Suddenly, the phone rang. Mr. Fu, have you seen the trending topic? A little girl with bone cancer passed away, and her family put her photos online. The person in one of the group photos seems to be Miss Su. Fu Ci panicked completely. He opened his phone and found that photo as quickly as possible. He zoomed in on it. In this photo, the wig the little girl was wearing was the same as the hair Su Mian had when he saw her in the hospital that day. And Su Mian looked haggard and emaciated, but when he saw Su Mian later, she didn't have such a sickly appearance. In just a moment, he realized, Su Mian, who loved beauty so much, would of course wear makeup. Fu Ci's eyes gradually turned red. He frantically called Su Mian's phone. No one answered. He called her manager's phone, but no one answered either. He immediately rushed back. He hoped she was still there, but in this huge city, he didn't know where to look for her. He could only return to the old rental house. He lay on that bed. All these years, without Su Mian, he had suffered from severe insomnia. Only when he lay here did he feel at ease. He caught a glimpse of a piece of paper on the desk. There was a phone number written on the paper. Although it was crossed out, it was his only clue. He called the number. Zhang Yan answered the phone. Su Mian didn't leave. Su Mian will stay here forever. In the 2 years after Su Mian's death, Fu Ci lived every day relying on the harsh words Su Mian once said. He deceived himself by saying that Su Mian didn't love him, so he shouldn't care so much about her either, until one day, the manager received a call. The person said that they accidentally inherited Su Mian's phone number, logged into Weibo, and found the draft box of her account. It recorded everything that happened to her since she got sick. The manager made the content public 5 years ago. Su Mian was just a new artist who had just entered the entertainment industry. She was set up and sent to the bed of the young master of a wealthy family, but in fact, nothing happened between them. Later, she was diagnosed with bone cancer. At that time, Fu Ci was in a low period. She couldn't let him become even more depressed, so she forced him to grow up by breaking up with him. She was waiting to be cured of her bone cancer and meet him again, but fate never favored her. Her bone cancer worsened countless times. The words of confession that were on the tip of her tongue were finally suppressed in her heart due to various reasons. In reality, in the draft box, there was also a love letter. The signature was from 10 years ago. She wrote it when she was in her sophomore year of high school. Fu Ci, I love you very much. no less than you love me. At the same time, Songyao made a public announcement. She and Fu Xi had never been together. Fu Xi read that love letter countless times. Su Mian, if I had known, I wouldn't have used such clumsy tricks to force you to love me, but now, I can't fulfill your wish. I'm coming to find you.